Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Monster Hunter World Iceborne livestream. We're still on the PlayStation 4. This is the second livestream on the PlayStation 4, which means it's about time to move back over to the... Is it the Xbox next? No, it's the PC next, right? I'm pretty sure. So PC gets to go next. How's it going, everyone? It is April 17th. We are like a week away before the launch of Arch-Tempered Namiel and the launch of Master Rank Kulft Harath. So I'm sitting here with my hands on my not knowing what to do. Ernesto says, can I add you on PlayStation 4? You could, but I'm not going to accept your friendship. AB Gamer says, only rank 227. That's right. I haven't put quite as much time into my PlayStation account as I have put into my Xbox account. How's it going, Ivan? Chad PS4, that's right. I'm torn between joining the game or watching the stream for the conversation. Oh, that's right. It's a chat time stream, which means because we have nothing better to do, we're going to be sitting around and talking about all the edgiest what am I trying to say? Political philosophies and theories and points of views, and we're going to be super edgy, and I'm going to be all incredibly woke and red-pilled and purple-pilled and quadruple-pilled. And everyone's going to be like, whoa, I can't believe you said that. And then other people will be like, you're a racist. And then some people will say, why are you so negative, man? It'll be great. It'll be a lot of fun. Rem says, time to prepare for mass murdering of Cole. That's right. You got the commit self-destruct. How's it going, Enzu? Hey, do you watch anime? Hey, Mr. Economist, do you watch anime? That's a common question, believe it or not. What anime do you watch? Oh, yeah, I watch all the animes. How long do you think it'll take till this becomes a political stream? All right, let's talk about AB Gamer's low energy beta male status. No, I'm just kidding. Economical. Hey, TGE, how's it going, Illicit Banks? Wish I was mod. Cheese is like, I wish I was a mod. I could make you mod over here, Cheese. All right, Cheese is mod. You can be the cheesiest mod over here is what I was going to say. Ivan says TGC is going to purple pill you. I don't even know what that means, right? Each says, that's a lot of fun, bro. Let me give you that. I heard what you said about fascism on your previous stream. You better stop being a sensible person before you get canceled. What? All right. So, during a chat time stream, see, I'm trying to run my words together. During a chat time stream, I don't have an itinerary of things we're going to do, so you're welcome to join and post your own quests. That means if you're stuck on something or you want help farming something, there is a decent chance that I join your quest and give you a hand. No promises. I'll give you a handy. All right, let's go ahead and confirm this. It's a late night stream, everyone. I can say anything I want. That's how it works, right? I think it works that way. I don't know. It's lunchtime somewhere in the world. You also watch gay anime. Hey, you figured me out. Let's see if anyone's posted already, actually. I'm curious. Wonder if I should go get a painkiller at the beginning of the stream. I have this weird fever and this dry cough. I gotta get a painkiller. What do you consider a beta male? Well, it's funny. It's actually... Okay, so if you want to get all nerdy about it, think about it. If you had a bunch of, like, 10-year-old kids in a room, and you're, like, 21 years old, you're the alpha. It doesn't matter how nerdy you are, you're totally the alpha. You could beat all those kids up, right? But then again, if you had some guy, and he's, like, Paul Bunyan type, and he's like, standing over you, like, 6'4", wearing his lumberjack outfit, going around slaying the ladies and chopping trees down, you're going to be the beta male in that case. So it's kind of a relative term, isn't it? It really depends on who you're around. So if you're around somebody who's killing it, you're going to feel like the beta male. Whereas if you're the only one in the room killing it, you're going to feel like the alpha male. So it's really interesting. And it's really only a term that you can speak about in a relative sense. You know what I mean? So some guy's going to be the best at something. You're going to be like, damn, he's the best. And you might use this sort of made up, almost meme-ish term, alpha beta. But I don't know. It's a very as unscientific as it is. It also seems to say a lot in a very short way, which people love that sort of like poeticness to words, right? Whenever you can say a lot in a very short amount of time. So I was like, oh man, what a big old beta male. He's a simp. So we like terms like that. And of course, if you're on the internet, you're going to use insults if you can without getting yourself in trouble. So Imagine beating up kids to assert dominance. I mean, I was the oldest brother in a family of 11. You feel pretty alpha when you can go around beating up all the other kids simply because they were born later. Teresa says, you will be streaming Master Rank Quilv, right? Yes, of course. Alphaconomist, hi. Ah, yes, punch the kids to be alpha. Exactly. Ivan says, wow, Gameconomist is talking about beating kids. I'm literally shaking. I'm literally shaking and crying right now. She says, I can probably beat up like 35-year-olds. That's right. Aaron says, how many rounds do you think you can go if you had to fight 10 fourth graders and every fifth round they threw in a sixth grader? It just depends on how crazy you are. Some people are going to do well. Some people are not going to do well. Cheese is treading on my territory. Beta male, any progressive liberal male. So if that's a beta, what's a simp? Simp is a new term, relatively new term, that refers to men who go to OnlyFans and throw money at girls and call them goddess, and just so you can see them be nude when there's literally nude, videos and photos everywhere on the internet. That is a simp, and it is another word for simple-minded man. He's a simple man. I'd beat my kids if I had them. Oh my god. This is getting too meta. Okay, let's see if we can join. Ooh, we do have something to join. Gold Raytheon. Damn, Big Boy TGC being some alpha male. That's right. I take Big Boy poops, and I have like 24 wives at least. Wait, maybe it's 24 cats. Stream started a minute ago, and we beating kids already? That's right. Jesus, future president. I'd kill 1 million fourth graders. Man, this guy's super alpha. Hello, I keep falling asleep every 2 hours for 2-hour help. What? Oh, I see what you're saying. You're not getting good sleep. Oh, that's not good, man. My wife was telling me how she's going to get better sleep or something. She's like, now, if you don't get a full 8 hours of sleep, they've got science and data that tells you that you age faster, actually, because your cells don't get to rejuvenate if you don't go. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go stream. She's in bed now, and I'm playing games, so... Simp comes from cuckoos is where the word cuck comes from, too. Really? No way. I don't believe that. Samuel says, me, about to go to bed. TGC, live, me. You son of a bitch. I clog my toilet every time I poop. Alpha male. Blackintosh says, simp is an acronym. Sucker, idealizing, mediocre, pussy. But I want to coom. I want to coom. Commander Scout of the 425th says, cats, wives, what's the difference? There is actually a difference, though. Oh, I have my background music playing. I hope you don't mind. You might hear it. I'm swapping between it. Ooh, hopefully it doesn't crash my computer. This isn't going to crash my computer, is it? No, okay. I'm getting nervous. So far it hasn't crashed, right? Do I have to hit play? Oh, there it goes. Okay. Ooh. Fudge, sleep. I'm gonna die anyways. That's right. Sleep is weird these days. Time just kind of blends together. Well, I've been doing this work for like 2 years, roughly. When you do live streaming and content creation as a job, and you aren't religious, which means you don't observe like the Sabbath or the Sunday or whatever, all the days literally do blend in. You're like, what day of the month it is? Is it? What day of the week? You have no clue. It just all kind of goes by, and then you look at yourself in the mirror and you go, wait, when did I get fat? Mesley says, yes, it's literally cuckoos invade other nests, and their babies literally destroy other eggs. What? Wait, I'm not here to fight you. What am I doing? Wrong bad guy. If defeating kids is a prerequisite, no wonder Anakin Skywalker was considered alpha. Well, I mean, he was slaying it in bed, apparently. So Zelda logic, cuckoos. What's the armor you're wearing? This is the armor. The armor that gives you armor. What do you mean this guy's still aggroed to me? I'm in camp. There it goes. Ridiculous. What?
Why do you have to go and make things so complicated? I see the way you're acting like you're somebody else gets me frustrated.
I don't know that one, Cheese. Why do you have to go and make things so complicated? I see the way you're acting like you're somebody else gets me frustrated. I just don't know that one. Do me 9 Inch Nails closer. I'll do that one for you. What's the armor you're wearing? Looks. Oh, I already read that. Did you download Uncharted Collection and Journey from PS Store? They are free. I played Uncharted a long time ago on my PS Vita, back before I decided to get Xbox consoles. So I owned a PS Vita at some point, and I thought it was like a really boring, dumb game. So I have no interest in it. I'll play Monster Hunter. Thundersteel says, you focusing on game more or chat more? Definitely still chat. It is chat time. As you can see, I did not change the title. And so there's going to be plenty of bad gameplay and probably lots of bad commentary. My brother just Fortnite danced. Where's my saber? Ah yes, armor. That gives armor. The poison for Cusco's. Cusco's poison. Oh yes. Cusco's poison. Poison for Cusco. What if humans had to eat their brethren to escape the womb? Who would have survived? Would you have survived? I think I would have survived. I'd have been okay. Avril Lavigne complicated. Oh, Avril Lavigne. Let me try and remember. Oh, that's an old one, dude. That one's really old. That's like one of her early songs, isn't it? Oh man, it's like on the tip of my tongue. I'm pretty sure that's Avril Lavigne's earlier work that you're talking about, because one of my sisters, the one that's closest to me in age, she was a big Avril Lavigne fan, and I definitely recognize the lyrics now that you've said that. Are you going to move to RuneScape once it runs out of content? That's right, we're going to be a RuneScape. That's the you get me closer to God. Oh my god, the first time I heard that I was like, this is a bad man. You know, actually it's funny, the first time I heard Nine Inch Nails music, I thought it very much in a auditory way it sounded very bad. I was like, this doesn't make any sense, it doesn't sound good at all. And it wasn't until, I think I've said this before, so if you've listened to me talk about music before, you've heard me say this before. It wasn't until I listened to like his other music, sort of like his sad music, that the crazy angry music made more sense. I was like, oh, okay. So it's almost like your brain adapts to understand the style of the music. Nine Inch Nails closer coming up. I was the fastest swimmer to get to the egg, so I win by default. TTS volume is really low. I don't know what TTS volume is. In-game volume? Do you mean background volume? Background music volume. Now boys, this is going to be a Duntless channel. That's right, we gotta get back to Duntless, everyone. Wow, you don't even need to heal the poison when you have good health regen. He isn't that desperate. I definitely recognize that Avril Lavigne song now. I just can't remember the tune. Don't do it. Ah, that's sad. Good job. Oh, that's really sad. Super whiffs. Streamlabs volume is too low, says Cheese. Oh, I gotcha. Gameco, what are your thoughts on death grips? I don't know what you mean by death grip. Text to speech. Hold on. Oh, she's leaving. Should Gunlance players focus on the head because of explosive damage, also dealing stun? Explosive damage does not also deal stun, unless I'm deeply mistaken, but you might be confusing explosive damage with the stun damage that sticky ammo deals. Sticky ammo specifically deals stun damage. So who's going to sing Chorus to Complicated? Do you like Nine Inch Nails version of Hurt or Jenny Cash version? Actually the Nine Inch Nails, the original Nine Inch Nails version is better. in my opinion. I heard actually Johnny Cash's version long before I even knew who Nine Inch Nails was. So I'd known about it, but I think that the original version of it probably captures more of the feeling of the lyrics, in my opinion. Whereas Johnny Cash sort of saw an opportunity to make it seem more like maybe his sort of style and brand. He did a great job with it, and it wouldn't be the first time that somebody, you know, uses Nine Inch Nails music. But definitely the original version. Do you like Nine? Oh, I already read that. He was a skater boy. She said, "See you later, boy." You missed me question, says Enzu. I missed me question. What are you talking about? I'm scrolling up. I don't see it. Oh, TGC. So you say that a family should consist of 3 kids. So since I have 1 boy and my girlfriend has 2 girls, am I screwed? My girlfriend has 2 girls. Do you mean to say she has 2 girls that you didn't, she had with another guy? I mean, if it doesn't bother you, it's not such a bad deal. Personally, I would want 3 of my own kids, though. You know what I mean? 3 of my own kids. No problem with having 5 kids, honestly. Tacos or burritos? I would have to say tacos. What are your thoughts on human evolution? That's a great question. Maybe a better question you could ask me, because is do I believe that natural selection still occurs? Abso-freaking-lutely, natural selection still occurs. If you find a really hot supermodel and look up who her parents are, they're really attractive too. On almost all cases, they're attractive. When you look up somebody who became a successful entrepreneur, you find out that, his mom or his dad or both of them were go-getters themselves. They were hustlers. When you look up and find out some guy is, really clever, really smart, maybe like a technology guy, you find out his dad was a lawyer or something like that, right? So I do strongly believe you inherit everything about yourself 100% from the genetic DNA that you're getting from your parents. There's no mystical spirit, there's no ghost. It all comes from your ancestors, all concentrated into this strand of DNA that you're getting from your mom and your dad, and that's who you become. Randaroo says, only blunt damage has built-in stun damage, otherwise it should be a special property of an attack, like sticky ammo. Exactly. Death Grips is a music band. I don't know Death Grips, unfortunately. TGC, do you know Rage Against the Machine? Bulls on Parade. Yeah, I know that one. Yeah. I have 3 kids and no wife, says Cheese. Aw, man. Oh, you did it, though. You got 3 kids. You're good. Now you just need to get a robot wife. Maybe you can hire... No, I was going to say something funny, but I'm not going to say it. Enzu says, gotcha. TGC, what are your thoughts about legalizing prostitution? Max, I'm on the fence on that one. When it comes to complicated ideas, social ideas... I like to sit around thinking about the side effects, or like, what kind of decision should be made. That is one that I'm still really not sure about. You know what I mean? That is one I still don't really know. I'm not confident how I feel about it either way. Like, for example, keeping prostitution illegal probably has the benefit of making our society less focused on buying sex from each other. But then again, you would kind of have to argue whether or not it's bad to be buying sex from each other. And yeah, I would kind of say it's bad to just be trading and selling sex. It's almost kind of like it dips into this concept of morality. So you could also call it ethics if you don't like that word. Morality and ethics. And can you actually commit bad things that affect you later in life? And I would say yeah, generally yeah. But I think also humans are maybe the word's tenacious enough to kind of bounce back from mistakes that they've made in life. So it's actually kind of hard to say. Also, I think there's plenty of people who would be like, yeah, I'll have sex for money, and then come out of it totally fine. They're like, I was never going to care. But I don't think that's normal. I don't think that's the average. I think that normally people have sex with somebody, and what happens is on a chemical level, they form a bond with the person they're having sex with. And if you're simply having sex within a transaction, see, I think guys would generally get away with it. I don't know about girls. I think that would really mess up girls. So I don't know how to think about it. And the funny thing is, most of the demand, maybe like 90%, will be for girls. But then on the other hand, having prostitution be illegal, people argue that this makes it harder for girls to get help from like the cops, we create laws like you can't get in trouble for going to the cops if you're a prostitute. I'm not going to say sex worker. I hate that term. Prostitute, because that's what it is. They like to change the words because it sounds nicer. But so they're changing the law so that they can get help from, like, so if they have like a John or pimp or whatever the term would be, get help from them for abuse and stuff like that. But that's very good. I like those ideas. But legalizing it outright, I don't know if I support that. I don't think it's necessarily good for society. And if you really want to have sex with somebody, there's all these dating apps. You know, what there really are is hookup apps. Just use Tinder and go find somebody to have sex with. What you're talking about is creating a job where you're having a transaction to have sex for money. And I'm pretty sure there's ways to find that on the internet anyways. But it just, yeah, I don't know. It takes like probably one of the most fundamental aspects of being human. There's only a few things that are really important to our health and psychology: food, sleep, sex. Taking this really fundamental thing and saying, rather than having, you know, a relationship with somebody and having a healthy sexual relationship with them and having a family with them, why don't you go around selling your sex for some money now? And I don't know if that would be good for society. I'm very open-minded to accepting arguments that would be good for society, but I don't think it would be. So why legalize it other than to protect the women, which I think, again, we are capable of helping them out. Women who perhaps have been hooked into prostitution, perhaps because they have extreme financial needs, or perhaps they have a drug addiction, whatever the case is. Maybe they're sex trafficked, which is still a serious problem. You know, they talk about that. With illegal immigration comes sex trafficking. Oh, snap. Were we supposed to fight this guy? Who's the target? Oh, it says capture a Tigrex. So, yeah, again, it's something that I'm still thinking about, perhaps like you guys are still thinking about it. Got back just in time for the prostitution conversation. My fantasy would be to hold hands. If your line of thinking follows that logic, then I know my intellect sure as hell didn't come from my dad, and I'm a little unsure if it comes from my mom, but I like to think I developed ED. What? Pimp, hello, hooray, intercourse enablers. This guy plays video games all day. Stop asking about real life. He doesn't know. He just plays video games, man. Zachary Lewis says, sorry about the previous message. I was running out of space. I had to shorten it. Bro, he's the best person to ask. What did I miss? I are very smart. That's right. I am very smart. No, I'm just kidding. TGC is diverse. PSA purchase sex advisor. You can sell sex to someone as long as you record it and call it a porno. Yeah, I've heard that one before, right? So if there's no camera, it's prostitution, it's illegal. But if you put a camera there, it's actually you making a pornography, and that's totally legal, right? So it's sort of a hypocrisy in the rules, I guess you could say. Oh, that was weird. It was letting me go through with that, but then it stopped me. Is kind of a loophole, which is funny to point out the loophole, but it still doesn't answer the question, is prostitution good for society? And if it's not good for society, that is, if it's strictly a vice, should we allow it? We have other vices, right? China recently allowed the Chinese to purchase video games. We were talking about that in a previous stream. Well, why didn't they let us have video games, or people in China, why didn't they let them have video games? Because they consider it a vice. They don't want to have their people be, maybe like, become addicted to vices and become unproductive. Gameconomist, my dog wants a doggy treat. Should I give him one? Yes, give your doggy a doggy treat. I thought about it. I put a lot of effort, and I decided it would be okay. Cheese says, birthdays are good for your health. The more you have, the longer you live. Oh, my God. Tinder back in the day was unreal. Now I can't even farm any blast nuts on Tinder anymore. It feels bad. Was Tinder like a really good hookup app in the past, and now today it's not? Maybe you just got older, though. Have you considered that? Maybe people in your age group have already kind of like settled down a little more. Oh my God. This guy's so annoying. Let's put on our temporal mantle. Lots of things aren't good for society, but that doesn't mean the government should be able to regulate it. Right, I hear that argument. People who are into that kind of stuff, they're often, quote, libertarians. We just need to get rid of most government rules, right? And let the people decide. But that's to say, like, the government isn't effective at controlling, you know, good behaviors in the population, which I don't agree with. I think the government absolutely can. Actually, funny enough, I think that the Chinese Communist government is a perfect example of being able to control its people. So it is possible to control people. And the question is, if, like, for example, what if the government could stop you from eating McDonald's? ever again? Like, what if the government could take every really unhealthy food? Let's take a really bad unhealthy food, for example. How about bacon? So everybody knows, well, you should know at this point, that bacon's considered carcinogenic. Bacon's considered about as unhealthy as smoking cigarettes. It's really unhealthy, right? So bacon's super unhealthy. There's no reason to eat it. It's not even necessarily really... I mean, there's cheaper meats that are more filling and healthier. So there's really just no reason to eat it other than the flavor. So the government could just make bacon illegal, right? There wouldn't be any huge loss. The only thing you would lose is the ability to eat bacon and enjoy its flavor. But then, price-wise, you'd get cheaper meat in the form of, I don't know, chicken, pork, beef, depending on what you buy, I suppose, depending on the cut. But you would get cheaper, healthier meat, because the government made it illegal to buy bacon. And this would only, essentially, it would only be good for society, in my opinion. Same with, like, let's say soda. I'm a big fan of energy drinks. Government could just step in and be like, you know what? You don't need soda. Soda's bad for you. And the government could even say something along the lines of, like, we're the ones that have to provide all of the... There we go. Did you see me interrupt that? We're the ones that have to provide all the socialized healthcare, so that's why we're getting rid of the soda. So, sort of what we've dipped into in terms of a subject here is we've dipped into the concept of how much control should a government have in making you do what you're supposed to be doing. And it's an interesting question because when it comes to prostitution, that's what we're talking about. The government says no prostitution because that's not what you should be doing. And the libertarians are saying, yeah, we should be able to do anything we want to do. And the government says, nah, it's not in our interest to let you do whatever you want to do. Organic bacon keto. Keto, man. Frogs are pretty cool. Don't take my bacon. Hey, I call BS on the bacon being bad. Do you like your bacon crispy or non-crispy? Great question, Derwin. I do not like crispy bacon. I like soft bacon because I'm a psychopath. Bacon's overrated. I agree with that as well, actually. If you want a really delicious and healthy meat, try a tinned sardine. They're very healthy. Please let them stop us eating unhealthy and make weight training mandatory. So listen to what Shady's saying. Shady's saying, maybe the government can just create a law that says you actually have to work out, and we're getting rid of Coca-Cola, Pepsi, we're getting rid of KFC, we're getting rid of all this shit that just makes society fat and unhealthy and unhappy in that way. You know, you live shorter lives, you need more medical care. The government could just do away with those if it wanted to. Should it? It's a very interesting question. Should the government get rid of that stuff? Or should it allow you to do whatever you want, even if it's essentially very unhealthy for you? So you guys have probably watched enough YouTube to see like those My 600 Pound Life videos and stuff like that. So people are out there living those lives after eating enormous amounts of really unhealthy food. And if the government had laws that said, no, we're not going to have Krispy Kremes is bad for you strictly, could change the health of so many people, but it would be taking away one of their freedoms, see? And prostitution would fit under the same category as what I'm talking about here. People would probably enjoy it. Some people would enjoy it. Some people would probably find that they regret it. Some people would probably still be abused in it, despite the idea that, oh, if you make it legal, there will be no abuse. There'd probably be plenty of abuse still. But again, some people would just be fine and happy with it. But it's not necessarily good for society overall. I think we can all agree with that. Prostitution, you wouldn't want most of society to be running off of prostitution. It's like the antithesis of a good relationship. Instead of supporting each other in a relationship with unconditional love, you instead turn each other into an absolute kind of object where only perhaps a financial transaction is made between each other, and that's the only reason you meet with each other. So it's the complete antithesis of a good relationship. It won't create healthy families. You'll get like herpes, you'll get, there's still risks to sex, whether or not you're in 2020 or however, oh man, we got condoms and everything. No, there's still plenty of risks to having sex with strangers. So it's not necessarily good, in my opinion. Prostitution is clearly a vice, and should you be allowed to do it is a great question. What should the government be allowed to take away from you if it's healthy for the government to take it away from you? Really, really interesting question. We got from bacon to prostitution. How nice. What? Let's join another quest. Do I like waffles? I like waffles much more than I like pancakes. I think pancakes suck. Pancakes are gross. True-sighted says it's not the role of the government to be your parents, priests, or overlords. Just keep the nation safe from outside threats, inside crime, and social destruction by means of illness and disease. So true-sighted, that's your conclusion. Why don't we take a step backwards and ask, how did you reach that conclusion? Do you believe that the average human is capable of being their own parent? What if you were to learn based on data that the average human being is not even their own parent? They're just kind of, everyone's just a big kid, and that's it. You make shitty decision after shitty decision. Most people, most average people are addicted to one or two things. They got health problems, they got money problems, they got just self-regulation. So if you could conclude that that's how it really is, maybe the government should be mommy and daddy, right? So that's, and it's funny because you kind of reach that. I feel like liberals reach that conclusion more often than conservatives do. Conservatives say, no, I'll take care of myself and I'll do the right thing. So don't tell me how to live my life. I think that liberals don't actually believe in people's capacity to self-regulate themselves. And so, I don't want to make any stereotypes about the Liberal Party, but very often you do see, I can only say this from anecdotal experience, but from the marches I see, from what I experienced in college, the more liberal the person is, kind of like, I don't know, the more odd they were. Like, you could tell there wasn't something entirely all there about them. They didn't seem like super competitive and competent necessarily. They didn't seem all right, like put together. And they could be really smart too, but they're just not all right. And if you were the kind of person where you were aware that you are not very good at taking care of yourself, you might actually want the government to be in charge of your retirement, in charge of your health care, in charge of making these complex decisions and difficult decisions for you. So if you are not very good at taking care of yourself, you might vote for the government to take over those aspects of your life. Oh, they're in quest. I can join right now. So I don't know. That's stereotyping the Liberal Party. I don't want to be that way. But just in general, I find that that's true. In fact, some of the other stereotypes I find is, I think that often the liberals I've met, and I've met many of them, I've been liberal, I feel that they're often very resentful towards somebody. And they often, I suspect, don't like themselves that much. I suspect they don't like themselves that much. You guys can have your own, and there's probably bad things about conservatives as well, but this is just something I've observed over time. Like, sometimes I feel like they don't like themselves that much, and I don't know what it is. But I often find that in their personalities. But that's why we have other organizations. Hedonism, good, bad, or depends on if you do it right. What? Can you be my mommy and daddy? Yes, I can. Sign up over here. I'll need pictures to make the decision. Oh, and there it goes. If prostitution isn't legal, how am I supposed to fire off my sticky ammo build? I know, right? It's so unfair. If you were to work in your field, what company would you want to work for? Oh, in computer science? Oh. Good question. There is simply so much that goes on. I couldn't answer that question. It is really, computer science offers so much. I mean, if I wanted my dream job, it probably would be related to game development. I love video games. Alright, here we go. Oh my god, how did that miss? Had to leave halfway. How did the card unboxing went yesterday? How's it going, Root? Very well. We opened the entire box. There's one booster pack left. I'm probably going to lotto it off at some point. And the people in my card stream don't know this, but I've ordered a $7,000 vintage booster box that they'll learn more about later. It's a very cool booster box. So we're going to have another vintage booster box opening. Blackintosh says, you're right about liberals being a little off, but only on observation because of one key detail. The vocal minority of liberals are very easy to see in public. Dyed hair, for example. I think that's a fair argument. I was trying to make my point by mentioning that it's anecdotal evidence. But also, I had quite a lot of experience in college. Virtually everyone in college was liberal. There were zero conservatives at all, as far as I could tell. Nobody in college had a conservative point of view about anything. You just weren't allowed to because it meant that you were racist and sexist, and it meant that you were, I don't know, part of the patriarchy and part of maybe, I don't know, corporate wage slaves, etc., etc. So you just were not allowed to be conservative at college at all. But then, there was kind of this interesting thing where the more liberal the person was, the more, I don't want to use this term incorrectly, but like, I want to say like autistic. You know what I mean? They were like, They were weirder and weirder and weirder, and they made me like uncomfortable. I don't know what else to say. I'm just being honest from my experiences, so take it with a grain of salt, honestly. But that was my experience. And I met lots of people, especially because I was the head of an organization. I was the head of the computer science club. So I met lots of people. I had a lot of friends, a lot of acquaintances, and I enjoyed people actually. I was probably one of the least introverted computer science majors for those 4 years. So one of the things about computer science majors is they very often do have social problems, like they have social anxiety, or maybe they just don't know how to interact with people properly. And you could almost find it like the worse adjusted they were, the more liberal they were in their beliefs, and the better adjusted they were, they would start to dress different. They would be like, you'd be like some white guy with almost a suit on, and he would talk exactly how you would think a conservative would talk. And if you sat down and had any kind of longer conversation about him, he was all about corporations and being very competitive. Competitive is I feel that competition is almost a key behavior you find in conservatives. It's not, I think in the past it was about Christianity. I think in the future, in 2020, almost a key sign that somebody's a conservative is how competitive in their nature are they. And so if they're anti-competition, if they hate competition, they might be a liberal. They might be a liberal. The government shouldn't make decisions for people. They should just stop rewarding people for making bad decisions and saving them from consequences. Okay, I hear you on that one. Basically, I know exactly where you're coming from, and it's almost like what you're saying here is an overarching concept of how do I say what I'm trying to say here? What you're saying basically falls into a lot of categories, I think is what I'm trying to say. So like with healthcare is probably one of the most relevant topics. And what you're saying is if people let themselves get fat and unhealthy, and then they reach the age of 60 and they have cancer, probably related to their lifestyle and their diet, they should just die from that cancer. I'm not here to pay for their cancer treatment. So that's essentially what you're saying. So we're talking about probably prostitution and whether or not the government should be allowed to regulate certain, let's say, very bad vices. When what you're saying is, we should just be able to do whatever we want, and if you're not very good, you're just out of here. You're dead. We don't take care of you. And the funny thing is, I don't know how well that would work because people have I think that would work for men. I think girls would have trouble with that concept. So guys would be like, nah, that's their fault, screw them. But I don't think girls often are like that. Girls are like, oh my God, we gotta help them. You know what I mean? It's almost, maybe as part of a sense of nurturing that girls have that guys don't have quite as much of. I think, man, I've gotten really good at dodging these wars. What the hell? That felt so natural. But anyways, I think guys are more easily willing to let something die rather than having to save it, especially if you don't see it as like your friend or your responsibility or something that you have perhaps like a gain from. Blackintosh says, I'm conservative, but I'm not very competitive, but I do see the benefit from it. It's also the individuality and hatred for government. Oh yeah, nobody really trusts the government anymore. I don't think conservatives trust the government. I don't think Democrats trust the government. The Democrats probably trust it a little more, though. Maximum Rise says, I can get behind that as well. Hello, any newbie set recommendations for my Master Rank 16 Greatsword wielder? Any newbie set for specifically a Master Rank 16 Greatsword? To tell you the truth, I would just use the Defender Greatsword all the way through the campaign. Gameconomist, do you think people are irrationally scared of suicide? What's your opinion on assisted suicide? Ooh, that's actually a very sensitive topic, assisted suicide. A lot of people claim that it should be their right to have assisted suicide, especially if you're like older and you have a chronic illness and you're in a lot of pain and you're draining your family's finances. Holy snaps, man. We timed that really well. Yeah, it's a very sensitive topic. There's no easy answer to it either, because when it comes to suicide, very often we commit suicide when we're depressed. And so it's supposed to be our responsibility to stop depressed people from committing suicide because they're not in the right mind. You know what I mean? We were talking about this yesterday. I was saying how one of the problems with suicide is it basically depression is basically is very much like being drunk. You don't have a lot of self-control. That's the whole issue. And the more drunk you are, the more capable you are of doing something really destructive. So the more depressed you are, the more capable you are of doing something really destructive like suicide. So when somebody says, here's all my reasons for committing suicide, they can actually start to sound extremely rational. But humans, I think, in most places still err on the belief that no matter how difficult life becomes, you're supposed to want to live on. And I think it will be very hard for society to accept that humans should commit suicide and it's good for them at any point. You see what I'm saying? So you should never commit suicide. So it's definitely an interesting concept, because assisted suicide can actually make dying much less painful and cleaner and maybe like scheduled, as odd as that sounds. So I think the general feeling on it is that most people are going to reject it. People are going to say we should have it because they want to be edgy, but society as a whole is going to say no, it's just not something we aspire to, rationalizing depression even when you're old. Rationalizing suicide even when you're old. Joey Perry says, what is overall better, sticky light bowgun or heavy bowgun? The new Beast Buster is probably the best, easily. Pokemon base set, Jim Pierce says, what archetype of bowgun do you find most fun? Sticky, pierce, normal, or spread? I probably in the past would have said sticky, but I'm actually kind of tired of sticky. I would like to say that I would like to see normal ammo become mainstream, which I think they tried to do with the latest Raging Brachydios light bowgun, but it just wasn't strong enough to justify. So I would love to see normal ammo become used again, which you don't really see anymore. It's not for anyone but them and their families and God to sort out. Right, I get that. So every time you speak, you're like, hey, the government can't tell me what to do. The government can't tell me what to do. The government can tell you what to do. Okay, that's the reality. The communist regime in China has an enormous amount of power, and they do tell you what to do. The government in a free society is not even that free. What happens is that government is voted in by the people, and then that government also tells you what to do. So if your society determines that they don't want to rationalize suicide at any stage of life, maybe in the case where you're considered like a vegetable, right? I think that's actually allowed. But let's say you are here, you're coherent, you're speaking, and you're just like, I don't want to live anymore. Society is going to vote for a government that says, no, you're not going to commit suicide. So you can believe all you want that it's not government's job to tell you what to do, and you can go vote for that. You can be like, no, I'm a libertarian. But what's going to happen, I'm predicting, society as a whole is going to say, we don't aspire to rationalize suicide. So that's my prediction. And I think that is a fair prediction because most people are just going to agree with this. There probably are situations where it makes the most sense to commit suicide. You don't need the government's permission to commit suicide. Just go commit it. It's going to be messy and gross, but just go commit it. Maybe you get a situation where you become so old that it's very hard to do because people are watching you. You're too feeble, right? So maybe that's the case, but I don't know what to tell you. At the very least, you're probably not going to be alive much longer anyways. So if you really don't think you're going to be alive much longer, hey, just give it a little more time. You'll be dead anyways. Blackintosh says, wanted to get your opinion on the Raging Brachydios heavy bowgun. Seems really strong, even stronger than the... No, it's really not too good. You could use the normal 3 on it, but spread ammo, pierce ammo are still going to be better, and sticky ammo on the Beast Buster. Government owns the scientist. Kind of they do. Why don't they update old Brachy weapon designs to be new ones? It has higher deviation. How do you feel about voting? How do I feel about voting? Tell you what, why don't we join a quest real fast? We'll join this guy. How do I feel about voting? It's a very vague question, so I don't know specifically what you meant by that. But I think I get the gist of what you're trying to say, though. How do I feel about democracy might be your better question. Do I trust everyone to vote? Gosh, it's tough to say, isn't it? Imagine if one day the Chinese government was the most powerful country in the world. It had the most influence over the world. It had the most money, the most markets, the largest middle class. I suppose in a sense, democracy will not have been a success. Maybe free market capitalism would have been a success, because I think the communist government now does free market capitalism with the combination of communist politics mixed in, where they own they own the companies. They let the companies compete in the free market. Oop, the quest is over. They let the companies compete in the free market, but they still belong to the Chinese Communist Party, right? So maybe it will be a testament to the free market. But yeah, it would be interesting if China ever became the most powerful country. Then how can we say that democracy is better than communism at that point? And then your next question should be, well, what is the best? And I'm going to return to a concept that I came up with. Well, I don't know. I didn't necessarily come up with it. Somebody else has probably thought of it too. But my realization is that it's not the type of government you have that makes you powerful as much as it is the people in your society that makes you powerful. So if your country is full of all these super intelligent, super genius, hardworking men who just hustle and they just die sacrificing themselves for the country, working their minds out, your country will just become the most powerful country. It didn't have anything to do with your government system, it turns out. It just had to do with who was smarter and who was harder working. So that's actually something that I believe today. Communist, I prefer to live in a democratic style of country because I feel you have more freedoms. But I actually believe that a communist regime could become the world superpower just because they work harder, and that's it. They work harder and they have smarter people. That's the key. You have to have the smartest people. If you don't have the smartest people, you will still lose. Captain Peckham says, what's the best quest to get a shield up jewel? The name Flavasieth. Why is our planet so messed up? Is our planet messed up? What are you talking about? Let's see if we can join here. Achy breaky heart. See you later, Casson. Anyone know if crossplay is on the cards for Monster Hunter? Nope. Would Hammer be alright if not better at breaking parts for Safjivo? What do you feel about the Monster Hunter movie? It's going to be terrible. But yeah, so it's a very interesting concept. One that I think about all the time now. My goal is to live around people who are hard workers, altruistic, they have good manners, and good self-control. So all those are really key characteristics of the people I want to live around. And I don't care if they're democratic or communist. It makes no difference to me. They can be whatever they want. But they have to have those qualities. They have to be taxpayers. They have to be part of the community, right? So it turns out that's the most important qualities. It's almost like checking somebody for their IQ, actually, which is essentially what a business does, by the way. Does a business sit you down and it asks you, oh, are you conservative or are you Democrat? Businesses don't do that. So businesses, what they want to know is how smart you are. And I think that is probably the best way to discover where you should be living and which country is going to become the most powerful country. Sorry, I'm back. Had to focus on Tio, sorry. Political people are like WWE wrestlers. They make us believe they are against each other. In fact, they all work together, red or blue. Yeah, I don't actually believe that at all. I don't think they work together. Josh says, Corona is definitely deserved for how humans are affected the planet. For how humans are affecting the planet, I think is horrible, but deserved. Josh, I'm so sorry that you are brainwashed into thinking that the planet has any feelings at all. The planet is a big rock. It has no feelings. You could blow it up all day. The only thing that matters when we're talking about how we affect the planet is whether or not it affects us humans, whether it hurts us. That's the only thing that matters. Unless you're one of the animal rights activists that think that animals are people. I am not one of those animal activists. I do not believe that animals are sentient. I do not believe that animals have enough intelligence for me to care if they die or not. So that's about it. Or maybe you're worried about trees. So not worried about trees. I mean, I'm worried about trees in the capacity that maybe there won't be enough of them to sustain, like oxygen and cleaning the air and all that. But other than that, I don't care. So the Earth is a big rock, and if you think coronavirus should come in and kill 130,000 people and then that's good, you're brainwashed, dude. You've been brainwashed by whatever it is that brainwashed you. What do you think of death benefits? I do not know if it's the right translation from German into English. Geldbeutel? I don't think I know what you mean. Death benefits. Does he mean inheritances? You might mean an inheritance. Or do you mean like being taxed when you die? I'm not sure what you mean by that. GE prisons, good or bad for society, long term and short. That's also really a complicated issue as well. Do I think that we should have private prisons? I think that private prisons were probably a mistake. I think we did private prisons because we thought that the private sector would be able to manage the prisons more efficiently than the government. And hey, maybe they have. But it also turns it into a situation where every time the prison is mishandled, you're going to blame it on greed. Every time some new law comes out that incarcerates people, you're going to assume that there's some kind of transaction going on between the politician and the the corporation that owns the prison, who makes money on incarcerations. So it's just not a good relationship because you're not going to have trust. The people aren't going to trust you anymore, basically. So I think that prisons have to become a public good again, not or a publicly run system for the government to take control of. Kind of like roads and everything else. It's silly. It's just one of those things. It just doesn't. Imagine if Coca-Cola owned the prisons. It's like, what? It just sounds silly. Just even saying it sounds silly, but that's essentially how our prisons are run, by corporations. So that needs to be fixed. But some people are like animals, man. They're fucked up in the head. Actually, I was reading. Oh, darn it. I was reading an article about. You might have. Oh my gosh, I'm going to die. I was reading an article about a doctor and her husband, and they're a little bit older and they're scared of dying to the coronavirus. So what they did was they took their daughter and they moved away from where they were living in order to avoid the risk of being infected. And the daughter brings her boyfriend with her, and he and a friend kills both of her parents. They execute them. They shoot him in the head. Because what happened was he discovered that her parents were rich. He didn't know that before. And once he found out they were rich, he figured he'd kill them and take their money. And it's just like, that's why you have prison right there. Like, you got to have a place to put this guy. Or, you know, you got to have a place to put him while you have him on trial to make sure he's the one that did it. But you got to have prisons. It's just a part of living in a society where humans, as it turns out, are very bad at doing what they're supposed to be doing. Arson says we should just make more humans faster. That way Corona can't take them. That's right. If everyone has 11 children... Tender says, well, Corona is obviously not any kind of punishment, but I still think that nature's valuable even beyond how it affects us practically. No, it's not. Anyone who thinks that's... Do you believe that Mother Earth is, like, conscious? So if you believe Mother Earth is conscious, that would make sense. Do you believe that... Yeah, I don't know where your reasonings come from. If it's not practical to humans, then no, it does not have value. You could be of the belief that animals have, like... maybe they're persons too, so you might be an animal rights activist, then I would at least understand your point of view. But if you're not an animal rights activist and you think that a giant hunk of rock floating in space has feelings and we have to take care of it in the way that you somehow arbitrarily deem appropriate, because again, it doesn't have feelings, right? Like, oh man, there's too much plastic. It's like, what are you talking about? There's no such thing as plastic to the Earth. The Earth it has no feeling either way about plastic. The Earth can't feel things. It's just a rock, man. You're worried about how the plastic affects us, but the Earth does not feel or care about plastic. It's going to be fine. It's going to be floating around for a very long time, right? The Earth doesn't give two shits about plastic. It's humans who care about plastic, right? So I don't know where you're coming from with that one. We should just take Corona and push it somewhere else. All right, Patrick. Animals I've had in my life have shown sentient behaviors. We might have different versions of what sentience is. You know, people will become so weirdly attached to their animals, and then you eat pork. And it's like, God, man, so inconsistent. You ever had bacon? We were talking about bacon earlier. Pigs are about as smart as your dog. Somebody said last stream that pigs are actually smarter than the average dog. And you know what? I would not even be surprised to find that out. So what is it that you're trying to protect? The animal that you... arbitrarily fall in love with. Oh man, this is the animal that's mine and it loves me. By the way, they don't feel love. Animals don't feel love. They might have some sort of social bonding, but love is a complex human feeling, and animals are not that complex. See what I'm saying? That's why when you die, your dog will eat your balls off if it means the dog thinks your balls smells yummy, right? Your dog doesn't know. Dog doesn't have any idea of that. It has no real self-awareness. You know, it can't feel well, anyways, I won't make arguments about self-awareness because that's actually a very large, it's like its own subject. Holy, just seen your video on F. Rajang. I want it, hopefully can solve it law. That's not my animal. Whales are dying due to plastic, not the Earth. They are more worried with dirty seas rather than the feelings of the Earth. Yeah, I don't know about all the Earth stuff. I'm not huge on freaking out over the Earth, honestly. I freak out in regards to whether or not it's going to affect humans' ability to survive. That's the biggest issue for me. Uh-oh. Yummy balls. That's right. Your dog will eat your... This is a very common thing. When people die, an older person dies with their dog in their home. So if you're like 75 years old, your kids are out, they don't live at home anymore, your wife maybe already passed away. When you pass away, if you have a dog, your dog does not wait to go and eat your flesh off. So your dog will come and eat your face off. Your dog doesn't give two shits. But people, because humans have an incredible imagination, we love movies like Disney, Bambi, right? We give these human qualities to animals, but they're not real. They're imagined. Everyone knows this. Well, and it's funny because sometimes you have to remind people of this, but especially people who love animals have to be reminded of this. But it's the reality. Oh, no. I don't want to be paralyzed. All right, here we go. Humans and animals are very distinct. Dogs will eat your flesh off as soon as you're dead. They don't care. My dog loves me. Your dog doesn't love you. People hate that. Well, I'm very cynical when it comes to this kind of stuff. Personally, I do not like animals a lot. I'm not a big fan of animals. I just saw the alpha and beta armor for Master Rank Cove, and oh my gosh, it looks fantastic. Hey GE, hey chat, been a minute. So, can I my Safi bows, or do I wait until I tenderize physique jewels? I don't think there's enough evidence towards animals having self-awareness or not. It's just too hard to test. Yeah, I sort of agree, but I sort of don't agree. There's certain like conditions that animals never get out of. For example, humans learn. Humans learn and we build on stuff. So humans a long time ago, we lived in caves and we wore probably very little, and what we did wear was fur from other animals, all right? And now we're an advanced society and we make 5G internet and we play Monster Hunter. So humans, we look at ourselves and we learn and we remember and we build on ourselves. Animals never do this, okay? This is one of the clearest signs that animals don't have self-awareness. Dogs have existed for a very long time. Dogs are never going to be, you know, making technology and making changes to dog society. It just doesn't happen. They're not smart enough. So the gap in intelligence between animals and humans is so large. Maybe you're somebody who's had a great deal of failed relationships in your life, and it's easier to have a relationship with the dog because the dog's not capable of experiencing the same wide range of human emotions and the size of yours. You know, he's programmed. He runs on instinct. Shut up, my dog loves me. Samuel says he has 2 cats. I do have 2 cats. I'm not even a huge fan of them, to tell you the truth. They're for my wife. If I was living by myself as a bachelor, I would not have 2 cats. I certainly would not. We have breed animals to have small brains, aka betas, for us to control. Josh frogs are pretty cool. What about orangutans that have been shown to use and manipulate sticks and rocks? It's the same deal, Josh. When was the last time you heard about orangutan society developing any kind of literature, for example? They just don't. They don't do anything. They don't improve. They stay exactly the same for thousands of years, orangutans. They never, ever improve. So humans have this sentience that other animals do not have. And animal rights activists don't agree with that. But it's true. There's a huge gap in intelligence between animals and humans. Snowball from Rick and Morty would like to have a word with you. Do you think we are the most advanced beings, or do you think aliens? Aliens. You know, I'm somebody who likes technology, and I love imaginative ideas like aliens. I do enjoy them. I'm also very pragmatic, so when I think about it, if there was an alien race with the capacity to come find us, I feel like they would have done it already, right? It's hard to imagine that they've just been sitting back staring at us going, no, we're not going to talk to them. After all this time, I just don't think it would have happened. I think they would have definitely contacted us already. So that means we can conclude a few things. They've never found us. Maybe they're out there and they just haven't found us. So that's probably a best case scenario for people who like the idea of aliens existing, because it still leaves open the possibility that they eventually find us. Or maybe it means that we're alone in the universe, and as time continues to pass and everything you guys might not know this, but the universe is expanding, right? So you might have heard this concept, or maybe you've never heard it. Basically, the planets are getting further apart. Everything's getting further apart. Okay, so if the aliens don't find us soon, or we don't find them soon, it's just never going to happen because everything will be so far apart. It's going to be harder and harder to find each other. It's less likely to happen, I should say. So, is there intelligent beings elsewhere in the universe? Possibly, but I doubt that they have the technology to find us or us them after all this time, because we haven't been able to find it with our super mega telescopes. There's no signs of other technologies. People are like, oh man, I saw aliens. No, you didn't. We got to go to Area 51 where they're hiding the aliens. I'm very skeptical on aliens, but I enjoy the idea immensely. I think it would be very fun. It would change everything, wouldn't it? It would be very exciting. You know what I would like? I would love time control. Can you imagine if we could control time? That would change quite a lot. So, like, imagine if the human race could actually just really slow down time. It would be a totally different angle from perhaps solving the issue of aging. You know what I mean? Who knows? Imagine we find aliens, but they're not super advanced. They're actually kind of like in their own Middle Ages, super lame, killing each other and having alien witch hunts, lol. Yeah, I mean, it could happen. What if aliens try to contact us, but we don't realize? Again, it's... I've considered the possibilities. It's just that, you know, if it hasn't happened, it hasn't happened. So you can imagine it all day, but I'm not going to, like, start investing in my worldview where aliens exist and I need to be considerate of them. I don't know, like, how does it affect my life either way? Man, if we do discover aliens, I hope they're hot as hell. I hope they're very sexy. Aliens probably see us like ants. They're like, yeah, let's leave them be. Yeah, see, that's probably not true. Humans are actually pretty advanced in my opinion. We're capable of constantly building on ourselves, which means that inevitably we will invent some pretty advanced technology. So any alien who is as intelligent or more intelligent than us should have already seen that. Do you think alien prostitution should be legal? All alien prostitution should be legal, but only if aliens are very hot. There's already alien technology called Alienware. Oh my god, it's Jason Bourne. We are the cosmic equivalent of Florida and nobody wants to come here. What are you talking about? People go to Florida all the time, man. Ah, god damn it. There's... Oh, I already read that. If a baby is born at ISS, is the baby considered alien? He's referring to the International Space Station. And I would say... No, I'd say no. Baby's origin is still humans from Earth. Too late for this. Take care of everyone. Too much superficialness this late. What? Man, you being all superficial. Why you so negative, man? Alien bacon. Maybe aliens helped our knowledge in the past during the Mayans in Egypt and will soon contact again. I want some thick alien cheeks. Some random girl started sending me old memes. I'm scared. Oh my god, man. Considering everything you've said, is there anything crazy you believe in, like ghosts or something? Absolutely not at all. The thing that scares me more than anything else in the world are real-world problems. So I'm scared of having complications from the coronavirus, right? So that would concern me. Am I scared of ghosts? I have absolutely zero fear of ghosts. Like, not even a little bit. If I can't see it, it's not real. What do you think about the quote from Alberta Einstein, who said there are two things... I have no idea. I'm not going to read the whole comment because I don't really care so much about the quote. Mankind just isn't ready for Florida Alien Man. Can you understand Murr? Yes. Best actor not to win an Oscar, Neil Armstrong. Elon Musk needs to finish those cat girls. That's right, we need cat girls. How old are the memes are we talking about? Do you think we will see deviants added to Monster Hunter? You know, my feelings on it is that it's an irrelevant question. Nice. I hit him. Looks like we got him poisoned too. That's pretty cool. Aliens. Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. Alright, Jeffrey Epstein. I forgot about that. He's like, go ahead in. I'll stay out here. Alright, Destroyer. Isn't it funny when teammates do that? They're like, you can go in and set it off. I'll stay out here. You would have no problem living in a house where violent murder happened in. Absolutely no problem at all. I'd be like, I wonder if this is where he choked her out. That would be me in a nutshell. I would have no feelings about it, because maybe I'm a psychopath. Ooh. But no, seriously, I would not give two shits. Actually, what I would care about is the price of the home. So if we could get a really good price on the home because everyone else is too creeped out to buy it, that would be terrific. Mankind got fricked over by a bat. Do you think we're ready for aliens? Aliens. How would Florida alien go past pulling a knife out from an alligator like King Arthur's sword? What is the strangest thing you believe in? What's the strangest thing I believe in? There's probably like a most controversial thing I believe in. I really don't believe in strange things. I'm open-minded actually to the whole Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself conspiracy. I'm open-minded to that. Oh god. The game psychopath. That's right, I'm changing my name. If murder happened, the house value will decrease, so it is a win. If the house is good, it is a double win. That's right. Imagine thinking something that happened in the house in the past. Uh-oh. Is this gonna blow up? No, he's just getting mad. Imagine thinking it has anything to do with what'll happen to you in the house. Humans are so superficial, it's crazy. Superficial? Not superficial. So, superstitious. I think that other guy said superficial, and I was just copying him. What's the most controversial then? My most controversial belief is that the peanut butter and the jelly should be on the outside of the sandwich, not the inside. Law of Parasite Movies house, though. Oh, God. Grab onto your leg. I would just make friends with the ghost so I can have some friends. What if the house is built over an Indian burial ground? Well, you didn't say that. If that's the case, I can't be there, man. Too dangerous. Definitely ripe for a haunting. Only hot takes here. That's right. Vanilla, chocolate, or strawberry? In most cases, vanilla. Most cases. When I'm feeling really crazy, strawberry. Chocolate's gross. What do you believe? Wait, you believe what about PB&J? I'd freak a ghost. Is it a hot ghost? Bro, if the ghost is hot, you gotta smash. Do you do reviews of builds as done in the past? That was apparently extremely popular, reviewing other people's builds. People, I think, like to have their builds reviewed. But I haven't done that in a while. Do you put the PB and J on separate sides or double up on both sides? What? Each says the feminism one. Actually, the feminism thing is not the most controversial thing I believe in. I saw a woman on Twitter arguing against women's suffrage. Have you ever experimented with drugs? I've done caffeine. Finally someone agrees with me and chocolate ice cream. Yeah, chocolate's gross, man. I can accept chocolate on like a Butterfinger bar or something like that, but in general, the flavor of chocolate is what? Like chalk? It tastes like chalk. Like from a chalkboard in school. It's just like this powdery stuff. You know why people like chocolate? What they're really liking is the fact that they're eating a whole stick of butter. That's what they like about chocolate. Try eating cocoa powder, dry cocoa powder, with no sugar and no butter. It's absolutely disgusting. So people do not like chocolate. They like sugar and butter, which is actually scientifically proven. What do you believe in more, ghosts or magic in a young girl's heart? Probably magic in a young girl's heart. What weapon will you be using when Cove Master Rank comes out? One of the 14 weapon classes that you're allowed to use. Gameconomist doesn't make the sandwiches. His wifey does. I think you mean my girlfriend. This guy is tweaking. Strawberry doesn't even taste like strawberry. What are you talking about? Strawberry definitely tastes like strawberry. Well, you didn't define artificial strawberry. Yeah, there's an artificial strawberry flavor, but that's gross. I'm talking about the real deal, like strawberry jam and all that. Strawberry jam's just made out of strawberries, man. Strawberries are delicious. Reckless says dark chocolate has antioxidants. That's what everyone says right before they eat a bunch of pointless calories. Everyone says dark chocolate's good for you, and then they eat a bunch of butter and sugar. Not that I'm, judging them. I'm just saying, be honest with yourself. Yeah, you can eat as much chocolate as you want. I will not judge you. Enzu says, now that I think about it, it could start next week. Coco Nibs, you think we have a live or something after die? Oh, are you asking me if I believe in the afterlife? I believe we have no evidence for or against an afterlife. And certainly we don't have any evidence for any particular religion. Sub me and I'm back you. What? There you go. I was thinking about mink and ice cream. Magicians use ghosts. That's right. It's a trick question. Magicians are ghosts. Strawberry ice cream is pretty good. It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. Vanilla is my favorite. Your opinion on everything until now is wrong and biased. I win by. Wine is good for your heart. Get strong. That's essentially it. This is actually good for me. I was reading Time Magazine, and Time Magazine had this article, sponsored conveniently by the wine companies. Time Magazine says a glass of red wine is so good for my heart. And she drinks like 4 glasses of wine. Well, that's exactly how the dark chocolate works. It's like, dark chocolate's actually good for you. And then they eat like a whole friggin' Hershey's bar. And they're like, you know what? I ran out of Hershey's bar. I might as well get over to the Butterfinger bar. That's exactly how it works. That reminds me of everyone as a kid saying sugar is good for you. Our bodies use it. If you could choose a 15th weapon, what would you choose? Melee or another range? I would like something with the chain attached to it. So anything with the chain. Man called me a leech after I healed him 6 ways to Sunday. Freaking leech! Maybe he didn't feel like he needed heals. Maybe he felt like the team needed damage. Hey, mister, this ain't no Pokemon. How's it going, Derek? Laughs quietly to not get ass beat by Chancia. What? To get the benefit is 70% or higher, but that's an acquired taste. That's right. Like I said, if you think that chocolate tastes good, go get yourself some cocoa powder, put it on a spoon, and just eat the cocoa powder. People don't like chocolate. People like sugar and butter. That's the truth. People think they like chocolate. What you're really eating is sugar and butter with a little cocoa. And you're like, wow, this cocoa is so good. It's like, no, man, you're just eating a stick of butter. Come on, man. Come on, man. The Survivor. I'll help you with the Survivor. To get the benefit... Oh, I already read that. I've got you, Gokin Sama. Gokin Sama? Remember the cinnamon challenge? Here comes the cocoa powder challenge. Oh, man. Cinnamon. Remember the Tide Pod challenge? How many people died from the Tide Pod challenge? I'm going to look it up real fast. How many people died from the Tide Pod challenge? Between 2012 and 2013, wow, time flies, man. Poison control centers reported over 7,000 cases of young children eating laundry pods. And it had resulted... Oh, wait a second. I think I misunderstood. So it's talking about, in general, children tend to eat Tide Pods, I think. Okay, the Tide Pod challenge was in 2018. Oh my god. In 2017, there were 12,300 calls to the United States Poison Control Centers due to exposure to laundry pods. Wow. And that number's actually down from 14,000 from 2 years ago. Holy. Oh man, I know some kids died to the the Tide Pod challenge. Some kids actually died, but apparently a ton of like small children will actually eat the Tide Pods because they look like candy. Crazy. Are we going to ignore that soap kills corona so now they're immune? Those who survived anyways? What? I eat one a day. Natural selection at its finest. I don't know, man. Natural selection is a very interesting concept, though. Yeah, with natural selection, you know, if you, let's say you consistently exhibit a behavior that would cause you to die in the wild, what's interesting is in modern society, we don't let that person die, we just take care of them. So, and what's funny is we take care of them and then they have children. So, I believe that modern society, natural selection has essentially ended. We don't allow it anymore. Isn't that interesting? It was something I was thinking about, and I discovered I wasn't the first person to think about this kind of issue, obviously, but it's been spoken about before. Humans aren't allowed to go and die. We just don't allow it. TGC should do a Monster Hunter meme review. We send them memes. I have done that. The latest meme review did not do so well, so I haven't bothered doing it again. Come on. Ah, darn. Woo! Dirty Monty knows it makes the joint squeaky clean and the bowels also. What? I like how the tail comes down. Oh. Oh, wouldn't it have been amazing if that had landed? But apparently no. Woo! Why not combine the two and have a melee weapon? Yeah, I mean, I'm open to anything with the new weapon. Have you considered moving your stream to a platform that will allow you to make money? What are you talking about? I make money on YouTube. You guys want to know how you can support the live stream? If you guys enjoy the live stream, there's multiple ways to support it. The very, very best way to support it is with simply a direct donation, which you can make through the Streamlabs link in the description of the live stream. And for those of you who have never heard of Streamlabs, Streamlabs is just PayPal. You could alternatively you could sign up with the credit card, is what I understand. So Streamlabs allows you to directly contribute. Additionally, YouTube has a system where you can become a member of the channel, and members have access to exclusive emojis. However, I'm fairly confident memberships probably do the same thing Super Chats do. It probably takes 30% of the donation, if I had to guess. Which is a lot. and they don't tell you that either. It's funny. So if you were going to become a membership, you could almost instead just consider, you know, donating like $5. I did try Corona, the beer. Didn't like it. Well, I don't like beer in general. What? You don't like beer? That's not loud. No, I'm just kidding. I don't actually drink alcohol. I'm not a fan of it either. When you were in college, did the subject of personality responsibility, I think you mean personal responsibility, ever come up, or was it about how people are victims? I don't know. Are you referring to like a particular class? Like, what do you mean by that question? Let's see, are there any... My character is too cold. Okay, I have a well-done steak. That'll fix it. Wait, here we go. Right here. No, that's fire herb. Never mind. Well-done steak will fix it. Making OnlyFans. Alright guys, the next stream's gonna be on Pornhub. Brrr. He's going into the wall. GE merch. My wife and I are working on trying to get some merchandise designed. It's harder than I realized. What is your gear lineup? Cornhub. Did he really go this way? Yeah, he did. When are the new layered armors going to drop? I have no clue. Let's take this off real fast. When are you doing merch? I need my Gameconomist body pillow. Like I said, it's harder to make merchandise than you guys realize. You have to find like a manufacturer who will actually make these things. And yes, it's actually pretty challenging. You have to design your logo to be a vector image. That's why I'm at right now. I'm trying to redesign it as a vector image. How often do you play PlayStation? You know, I just kind of rotate off of it like I do with all of the consoles. Good night, Samuel. Samuel says, everyone liked the stream. Oh, this music's so good. Natural selection is still around. Just look at the homeless as one example. I don't know. Even the homeless in America get taken care of pretty well, I'd say. Fitz Foster says, I need a TGC incense holder. There you go. It is getting late, though, isn't it? It's 3 a.m. in the morning. Teespring makes shirts. Uses Adobe Illustrator. Yeah, I know. I've looked at Teesprings. They're alright. They don't actually offer collared polo shirts, which I didn't like. TGC mugs? That's right. Zinger so easy? Wow. Can't believe you used that slur. What the hell? Quickest way to level up Hunter rank? Play the game. I'm gonna stand up and have a drink. I'll be right back. Oop, hold on. Okay, I'm back. Have I ever experimented with drugs? No. If you don't like alcohol, then what's your fix? Video games. Rufino says, if you think of it that way, humans just changed the required skill for natural selection. What? Saya says, the last thing I want is my tax dollars going to pay for food for some drug addict on the street. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a issue that people talk about. I don't think that people should be heartless either. Why was Steve... What happened to Steve there? So Steve, Stevio Zan Shin. Know what I just figured out 2 nights ago? The titles that appear post-quest, you can press square and see other titles that you got. That's actually a good tip if it's true. Cheese, did you accidentally time him out? Oh, you did. Jeez. Oh my god, Cheese. Alright, let's jump up here. Disappointed in you, Cheese. You're fired. No, I'm just kidding. Why are there only 75 likes when there are 400 people watching? It's because people hate me. Derek says, you can't help somebody who won't help themselves. Yeah, it's an interesting subject. It is. It is an interesting subject. Cheese says I fell asleep. Oh my god, Cheese. Cheese, you gotta be careful, man. Oh my god. Dozing off while holding his cell phone in his hand. Cha-cha, real smooth. Let's jump down here. Here comes the band. Uh-oh. Homeless people should be able to receive assisted suicide. Oh my god. Derwin's like, he's putting it all together in his head. I know what we can do, guys. Just have them kill themselves. Yeah, it's an interesting question. I don't think that you have to actually go in and kill people. And I don't actually think there is a big problem with providing food and water for people who are struggling, believe it or not. Any tip for fighting Raging Bracky? I can't get him yet. Whee! He's power crazed. I fell asleep with my phone in my hands. Am I doing a card stream? Why are you guys like the card stream? I could do another card stream after this. After this live stream, I could do one. Up to you guys, I suppose. God, he still got me. What time is it? It's 3:14. Nicholas says you shouldn't judge people that you don't know their history. Well, and it's just that, you know, there is a certain degree of charity that I don't mind. I think what happens at some point is we start debating how much help people should get, right? This is where people start to get divided on the issue. There won't be a homeless problem if there's no homeless people. Hey, problem solved. Actually, that's what New York figured out. Yeah, New York figured that out. Because what New York was doing, I don't know if they're still doing it. New York would take homeless people and it'd say, if you move to another state in America, we will pay your first year of rent. So they would just, basically that's exporting your homeless people. It's funny. Because that's exactly what it feels like. Well, it's a very interesting subject anyways. I don't know how much I want to say. Face reveal at 150k? No, man, it's got to be 200. I don't know if this is just me, but I struggle against Furious Raging and not Bracky. Bruh, how are you homeless? Just get a home. I know, right? They wouldn't be homeless if they just bought a house easy. God, they're so lazy. They just won't buy a home. Oh my gosh. Steve says, it's all good. No hard feelings. Right over here. We trying to kill him? Oh, okay, we're trying to kill him. Let the homeless and let's take the homeless and push them someplace else. Problem solved. Well, that's kind of what I was going to allude to that a little bit, Arson. there's a lot of controversy over illegal immigration in the United States. And sometimes I wonder if it's, well, the way I see it is I don't think they would immigrate out of, the South America if their governments just did a better job over there. So their governments don't get rid of the drug cartels. I think there's probably a lot of corruption between the politicians and the drug cartels, actually, because the drug cartels, if I had to guess, one of the best exports out of South America are drugs. Drugs are an illegal substance, and the funny thing is, when you make something illegal, the price of it just skyrockets. So you have this criminal organization that exports tons and tons of drugs to the United States for who knows how much money, millions and millions and millions of dollars. And so if you're a poor country or you're struggling to find like a good industry, and here you have a criminal organization that is bringing in millions of dollars of exports to the U.S., millions of dollars, what's your motivation for getting rid of them? And then if the drug lords kind of pop in and they're like, hey, I got millions of dollars. I can help fund your political campaign, and we won't kill you either. All you have to do is protect us. The politician, of course, is going to go, all right, well, that's what's happening now, right? So this is exactly what happens when you have a mafia or, criminal gangs, especially in a country without a very, a government that sort of gets rid of corruption like that on its own. Well organized, maybe that's the word I was looking for. But so I think that what happens inevitably because of all of the uncertainty, what happens when you have an area that has high crime, for example, the drug cartels, they will do this thing where they're competing to be the most violent in order to scare other drug cartels out of their territory. They will compete to be the most violent, so they will do just the most, torturous things that they can imagine. And they're always like probably high out of their minds when they do it too, but they will like skin, people alive, and they'll record it and they will post this to the internet where you can actually watch it, on whatever the dark internet. It's not even that dark, honestly, but the dark web. But anyways, they compete to do the most violent acts. And the problem with this is it does actually still have an effect on the economy. Even though the drug cartels are capable of bringing in millions of dollars, when there's too much crime and uncertainty in an area, businessmen are not willing to make investments. So when the crime is high, people start to leave, and especially investment starts to leave. So the businessmen say, no way, I'm not investing my money here. It's too big of a risk, right? So this is inevitably what happens. And when the investors leave, when there's no capital, you have no roads, you have no infrastructure, you have no taxes, you have no jobs. So the very first thing that South America has to do is just wipe out all their drug cartels fully. Just totally remove them. And when they're all gone, you may still have a problem where there's not enough money coming in and people are poor and they can't think of maybe like a job to do. I don't know. But at least it will be a safe area where businessmen will go, hey, there's people here that want to work and it's low crime. I will bring my investment money in. We'll start a business over here. But as long as it's violent, as long as the risk is high for a wealthy businessman to work in that area, he's never going to invest. So the very first step is they have to, remove these gangs. And instead, I think what happens is there's essentially no social welfare net in a lot of South America. It's not all of South America, but plenty of places in South America, no social welfare net at all. So you have a bunch of homeless people, and what the homeless people are supposed to do is they're supposed to get rid of their government and vote in a better government. Instead, what I feel happens is they're organized and sent up to the United States. So in a way, I feel that the United States basically just absorbs the homeless from South America. That's very similar to what New York does. New York says, hey, get out of here, go to another state. And I believe New York was being sued for that as well. Where I was reading about it, New York has a strategy of getting rid of its homeless by pushing it off to the other states. And they were getting sued by those states so that they would stop doing it. But ironically, we just kind of have that happening in our country. And I think this happens in a lot of first world countries. You got people from collapsing societies, maybe it's war. Usually it's violence, by the way. It's violence, but then also a failing economy. And they come over and they just kind of push their way and they're like, you have a nice place, we'll just come over here. And Democrats and conservatives debate over how this should be handled, of course. What's the most humane solution or the best solution? Nora says, okay, good night, TGE. I love you. See you on OnlyFans. See you later, man. Saya says, instead of wasting money on putting them in jail, communism hype, I'm a person of immigrant descent. I mean, technically, Arson, we're all of immigrant descent. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very open-minded to immigration. I just think it has to be handled on the right terms. You know what I mean? Like, for example, there was this issue in the Supreme Court in the United States where they're talking about whether or not we should have immigration of people who we know will go directly onto welfare. And the Donald Trump administration was saying, no, if they're going to migrate here, we should be allowed to vet them and know if they're just going to come over here and go straight onto welfare. And this upset the Democrats so badly that it had to be taken to the Supreme Court. Because he was trying to pass this as I don't remember how he's trying to pass this, but he's trying to make this rule established, right? And it gets taken all the way to the Supreme Court, where it very narrowly passes, by the way. Very narrowly it passes. Almost every female judge voted against it, and every male judge voted for it. All the male judges said, you can't come straight into America and go straight onto welfare. And it's just such a silly thing. I can't believe we're having a conversation about it. Every time I've looked about how to immigrate to, let's say, a European country, one of the first questions on the list is, can you support yourself? Can you support yourself? It's such an easy question. It's like, who's going to say no? Nobody's going to say no, first of all. But it's like, let's say they can figure out that you can't support yourself. So then the concept is, you're moving in, and all these people who have been living there the whole time, who have been paying taxes, are going to pay for you. It's, I can understand why you would want to do it. It's very similar to a homeless people who already live in your state, in your city, coming up to your door, knocking on it, and saying, hey, I live here now. You know, it's very similar to that. I live in your home now, and I'm going to eat some of your food too. So it's very similar to that, and you can be very big-hearted and be like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to take care of you then. But when you're talking about laws, private property, territory, sovereignty, obviously you just can't have that. The American people can vote to increase the number of immigrants you have in. They can vote to increase welfare. We can vote to give more money away to impoverished nations. There's all kinds of things we can do. But what you can't do is just have unregulated illegal immigration. It makes no sense from a point of law and order. You want to have law and order in your country is what makes your country feel safe. And again, businessmen do not invest in areas that are not safe. So every time there is high violence, you find the area quickly becomes poor. All the people who have money move away. And it's just like a downward spiral into an area that just quickly decays and becomes a terrible place to live. And everyone's like, what went wrong? I don't know what went wrong. What do I think of Jordan Peterson? Jordan Peterson is a guy. Run for government of Missouri. Squatter rights. Hype. All right, here's the big question. Warm or cold when sleeping? Cold. Super cold. What I like to do, I will take the blanket and I will put it over like my tummy, but the rest of my body will be completely exposed, and I will have a fan that runs on me so that I get cold air. That's a funny question. Derek says, the public charge rule has been on the books for years. My coworkers got so mad when this issue came up because when they immigrated here, they had to prove they could support themselves. Oh, I see what you're saying. So what you're saying is it already was a rule, and we're trying to essentially enforce it.
This is for the guy the first time out. Please forgive me. I know not what I do. Please forgive me. I can't stop loving you. Don't deny me this pain.
Oh my God, cheese. Please forgive me. I know not what I do. All right, there you go. Are you happy, cheese? Which is preferable to you? What? Oh my God, I love you. Oh my God, you live in my state. There we go. I live in the state of misery. My apology is coming up, Steve. What? Oh, it already came up. I see what's going on. Oh, I see. Who's having me sing the song for Steve? Isn't that guy who wrote that song Canadian? I can't remember. Squatters' rights. Hi, I live here now, and also you have to feed me, and if you don't do this, you are actually a racist. What? Wow, huge racist. That's basically issues of immigrations in 2020. Actually, I think it's that way for Europe, too. So in Europe, and I probably have a few European viewers because it's 3:26 a.m. in the morning for me, which means it's probably about 9:30 for you guys. Probably you guys are being told right now by your version of the left that if you do not accept some infinite number of poor immigrants from another country, that you're super duper racist. What is the best way to, at the moment, to get decorations? I believe it might still be actually tempered investigations of tier 3 monsters, threat 3 monsters. Please forgive me. When are you going to solo Ancient Lesson again? Well, I don't know why I'd solo him again. I could probably do it again. I hope your stream is going well. It is, actually. Steve says, yes, it's all fine. I accept your apology. I sometimes and I promise no hard feelings. Please forgive me. You guys are funny. 2. Woo! 2. Oh. Oh, did we just KO him? That was amazing. That sucked. That was a huge whip. What's the best light bowgun? It depends on what you're doing. Lefts are populists, and therefore in EU countries, people don't want to accept immigrants just out of generosity, because most of them are young men from Arabic countries. Yeah, so I wish I could find the article. I read an article once. It was recently. It was like in the last week, and it was talking about how the majority of immigrants to the United States are young men as well, and this is actually causing an imbalance between men and women in the country. And it's actually being wondered if that's going to be a problem when it comes to like getting a wife and all that stuff. You know, getting a girlfriend. Because if you guys weren't aware of this, one of the reasons why we don't do polygamy in most modern countries is because when you have polygamy, apparently violence goes up because men can't get girlfriends, and then since they have nothing else to do, they start fighting. You see what I'm saying? So it would be a big problem if in your country you couldn't get a wife or a girlfriend because you have nothing better to do than go fight then. Oh no. Oh, and I got knocked back. But you know, I wonder if it's even worse, like a higher ratio in Europe. Just based on like the images I've seen. Do you use E-Trade for trading? Yes, I do, Teddy. Hey, GE, I'm thinking to use another weapon. What do you recommend? Your favorite weapon. Use the greatsword. It's the greatest sword. Hypothetically speaking, if I was a face mask, would you wear me on your face? You gotta give me that Ben Shapiro meme. That's a good one. Hey, you can't get a gem. I use e-trading for trading. Whew, underground fruit. Stream delay. Uh-oh. Ivan says, are Raging Brack weapons essential? No, they're not. How's it going, Nick J? Some countries have it worse than others. Germany seems the prime target of immigration. Well, that's because Angela Merkel, who, you know, I didn't think very much of her until she made this sort of very quick decision. She said, let's just take in millions of them. I feel like she basically caused the mass migration. She's like, yeah, the doors are open, come on in. And when you hear that, you're like, oh man, this is my chance. This is it. Yeah. It's sad because, okay, so maybe Germany wishes for that, but all the countries on the way that had to endure all of the, you know, immigration traveling into Germany where they went, maybe I'll just stay here, you know. And then, not ironically, but unfortunately, the EU is like, all right, every country involved in the EU now has to take some of these immigrants. It's so silly because it's like, well, wait a second, I thought it was a sovereign country. And what do you get? You get Brexit. So it's like, wow, it hurt itself in its confusion. Or you played yourself. Honestly, I think if it weren't for all of the immigration during when Angela Merkel was saying, "Hey, let's just take as many as we can," I believe if that had never happened, Brexit would have never happened either. I think that it wouldn't have happened. There wouldn't be enough to upset. Angela sucks. Somebody says there wouldn't be enough to upset people in the UK in order to cause them to vote to leave the EU. So it's very unfortunate. Daniel says, hello, question. If you had to give your opinion to someone who just finished the game and is about to start Iceborne, what weapon is better, heavy bowgun or light bowgun? Ah, man. You could run either one. I prefer heavy bowgun just because I like that typically the ammo is stronger, but not always. Just depends on the matchup. Arson says, what she say, gate or open, come on in. You sure she wasn't talking about something else? Wink, wink. Oh my god, Arson. I don't know what it is, man. Why is it all of the female politicians are always super pro-immigration? They're always super pro-immigration. I don't understand it. I say we just change the rules. You can immigrate as much as you want. You just have to be a young woman. And then the feminist politicians will all be like, wait a second, I don't think I like this. That's exactly what would happen, by the way. They'd be like, no, we don't want infinite immigration of young women. You never hear of a like immigration plan like that. Nope. Is very frustrating. It's very frustrating. Will you do a speed run ever? Says Nick J. That's a good question. I could probably have a speed run stream. That would definitely be very different from the typical content I make. Greetings from Costa Rica. How's it going, Daddy Broomstick Eye? Greetings. I'm from Brazil. Hey, man. I'm from Brazil. Each says, especially Turkish people just goes to Germany and they never come back. You think it's just Turkish people? I've done plenty of reading on it. It's like from all over the place. North Africa, Syria. You're talking about Turkey. They're just, as soon as Merkel said, hey, we'll take everyone from Syria, I heard that the mass migration was from pretty much every surrounding country that was poor. And then they were just like, yeah, I'm a Syrian refugee. And there's no way to necessarily identify where they come from because they didn't bring their ID. And there was a lot of welfare programs, and the German people are generous. That's the truth. The German people are successful, and they're generous, and they want to help. But honestly, I think also the people who supported her decision are naive. And I think it was naivety. I think that they should have donated a lot of money to help the people, but when you have too much mass migration too quickly, what ends up happening is you're just going to have this... You're going to have a culture clash, but you're also going to have pockets of the people who moved in who have no interest in assimilating, and now their community is large enough and still, unassimilated enough that you're just going to always have this almost like mini country inside of your country. We have it happen here in the US all the time. Immigrants aren't picky. Some love the large and saggy. Steve says, all right, before the sun comes up, I'm going to go to bed. See you later, Steve. Do a slinger only speedrun. Hello from Indonesia. Good day from down under. What do you think of Ghana pallbearer? No idea. Don't know what that is. There's also higher educated people moving out of countries like Germany and the UK. Well, that's exactly what happened. So I was reading about this, What to Birdie. After Angela Merkel's decision, what happened is a bunch of Germans actually left Germany. In fact, a lot of them moved over to Hungary, of all places. They moved to a nice, beautiful lake in Hungary when they heard about what was going to happen. But not just Hungary, other states as well. Other countries as well. Dago says, in their minds, she saved families, mother and child, from a tough life in a less developed country. The reality is, men from those countries abuse that. Basically, Dago is stipulating that the desire to protect women and children in Angela Merkel's mind is taken advantage of by just a bunch of young men looking for an economic opportunity in Germany. Mr. Jesse Blue says, let's be clear, not Germany wanted it, Merkel wanted it. Sam Chi says, the only reason there's so many Turkish people is that they make a lot of children. Haha, Turkish people don't have the visa to come to Germany. You know, and this is all comes kind of back to the issue I was talking about. There was just this sort of realization I had on my own. It wasn't based on any sort of political ideology. It wasn't based on any sort of religious ideology. If you can't have a point of view of life and of your family structure and how you view yourself as a man, and your partner is a woman, if you can't have a point of view where you go in and at least have 3 children, 3 children is a minimum, not a ceiling, is a minimum. If you don't have that point of view, if you don't see women as mothers first, if you don't have that point of view because feminism has essentially brainwashed you into being, quote, progressive, what ends up happening is over time, it might take like 100 years, it might take 150 years, who knows? Over time, you will basically be replaced by men who do view women that way. Do you see? You can't cheat nature. It's impossible to cheat nature. Whoever is having children wins. So basically, whoever is still treating women as mothers wins. So, and people go, oh, who cares? Well, okay, you might be, a liberal if you don't care. Basically, you might have zero desire for competition, and then the question would be, well, so why are you here in this country? You might as well be in a different country, right? If you don't care, if it doesn't matter. Some people do care. I think that people who care the most are the ones that end up developing countries. So you ever stop and ask yourself, like, why do some countries do really well? South Korea, after the war over there, the Vietnam War, South Korea just kind of exploded and became really successful. And then there's plenty of countries in the world that haven't even been quite as ravaged by war that are still really not doing that well at all. And it's like, what is going on here? And I think one is the intelligence might be playing a role, but two is also just going to be the work ethic and the sacrifice of the men involved in that country making decisions. And so it's like you have the ability to change things in this regard if you have the right outlook on it. Hold on. Oh, any word. I thought I was going to tackle through it, but I did not. But basically, when you have sort of this attitude where nothing matters, where you live doesn't matter, your community doesn't matter, you can't contribute, why should I even try? I should just lay around, smoke a blunt, and have sex, but not the kind of sex that would make a baby. If that's your point of view, I honestly think you disappear and your community does not flourish. There's no development done. The family, you guys have heard all my opinions on the family unit at this point, but basically I see it as the cornerstone of all society. The cornerstone of all society is the family. And you have religious men who do not give 2 shits about feminism. They really don't. I don't think most of the old religions give 2 shits about feminism. They're like, feminism, that's cool. But also, you're going to have children, right? You know what I mean? I think that almost all of the old religions see the family that way. There's like a father over the mother, mother over the children kind of situation going on. And this allows them to say, all right, we're going to have kids now, right? You just don't have this anymore in developed countries. And people think that this is progress. It's like, watch this progress turn into the disappearance of your society and your culture, and you basically will be replaced by men who do believe still in having women who are mothers, wives who are mothers. In France, we have some female politicians that are clearly anti-immigration. In the Netherlands, we have the most funny politician that is anti-foreigners, so also the people that lived here for over 20 years. The Homeland Security must be hiring immigrations. Thoughts on the U.S. limiting funding to the WHO? Oh man, that subject's really blowing up actually. Did you guys hear recently that Canada's considering having sanctions against China? So there were like some official CCP, China Communist Party documents that were like leaked recently. And apparently they knew about the human-to-human transmission of the coronavirus as early as like January 3rd. And the Communist Party said, if anyone talks about this, shut them down. And that's exactly what they did. There was a lab that tried to report their findings on the transmission of the coronavirus. And when they tried to post about it, the Communist Party steps in and shuts the lab down. Also, I think I heard both Donald Trump and, Powell talking about the possibility that the virus was not coming from the wet market in bats, but actually from the Virology Institute of Wuhan. So it's no longer just like some funny news article that, oh man, what if this, conspiracy. The United States government is right now investigating if that's actually where the virus originated from. And then so Canada said that Canada's Justin Trudeau's talking about possibly sanctioning China. I believe that Japan recently decided to pull out a bunch of manufacturing out of China. Who was it? Is the guy who's standing in for Boris Johnson said there's going to be some really hard questions for China to answer in the near future, which suggested that they're going to want the truth, basically. They're going to want to know what happened, why the virus wasn't stopped sooner. And so, yeah, it's very, very interesting, all of it. It's so shitty. I mean, like, if you think about it for a minute, imagine if It's kind of like, it reminds me of Chernobyl so much. Imagine if the Chinese Communist Party, because they're afraid of being seen as a bad ruling party, covered up what the coronavirus was, and then it actually caused the heavy transmission of the virus all over the world. And then they basically use it as an opportunity to try to sell like 5G network, and they try to use it to make more money on selling masks. Right, all this stuff, propaganda about how good China is about stopping the spread of coronavirus in their own country. Imagine if that's the outcome of it, and then 130,000 people die all around the world. And it's all because they weren't willing to share information about the virus sooner. And then your question about the WHO, defunding the WHO. Well, people increasingly believe that the WHO is basically, on China's team. They're basically propaganda for China. Not everyone believes this, but certainly there is a lot of curiosity if that's the issue, which is exactly why the United States didn't say that it was going to stop funding forever indefinitely, but it was going to have an investigation of why it is that the director of the WHO basically was saying exactly what China was saying when it wasn't accurate information that China was handing out. So it could have just been the case that maybe the WHO was duped like everyone else by China, or it could be the case that, China's very close friends with the head of the organization saying, hey, this is what we need you to say to the rest of the world at this point, that we have it under control and that's not super dangerous. So it's a very, very, very interesting situation. I keep watching about it, I keep reading about it. 130,000 people, I think that's the death toll. Somebody remind me what the death toll is for coronavirus. It's crazy when you think about how many people died from it. It's really crazy how many people have died for it. And I was watching more information, more recent information. This was coming from a German doctor that was talking about the long-term consequence of getting the coronavirus. And apparently, you get some sort of, for people with worst-case scenarios who manage to live through the disease, they manage to live through it. However, they come out with damaged lungs. So it's like you survive the coronavirus, but it doesn't matter. You're probably going to die of complications in your lungs sooner in life anyways. It's so tragic to think about that. It's ridiculous. Eric Fish, thank you so much, Eric. Stop overcharging your greatsword is killing me inside. Oh, I'm not even looking at my greatsword. Ireland quadrupled funding to the WHO. So do you think women shouldn't be career focused? I think that women can have a long and lucrative career. However, I feel that we need to change the way that we talk about women's role in society from they should essentially just be money makers, which is what a husband does. So we're talking about women as if they should be husbands. That's what society does today. That's considered progress, is to talk about women as if they should be money makers. You should go out and make me money. When the most essential thing that women do is have children. And at this point, I feel that women are actually made to feel shameful if they have children at too young of an age, when they're actually providing the most important thing that society can ask them to do. And the reason we do this is because we believe that, or the feminists push for it very hard. They call it progress. If you don't agree with it, you're a sexist and a misogynist, and it's been very effective. And all of the stuff in Hollywood, in the books, right, stories that we write today, video game stories, they're all extremely feminist. It's all got to end. Or it will either end, or what will happen is men will just, psychologically, they'll see women as husbands, and you'll all stop having babies. I think is incredibly effective, actually, at getting men to stop having babies. Because who wants to have children with, if you're married to another man, you don't want to get him pregnant. You don't want to, because you don't want to have him stop working, right? You don't want, it's a weird thing, isn't it? You don't want to have him stop working to raise 3 kids and just be a stay-at-home mom. You find out that your wife can go out and make money. You're like, yeah, get out there and make me money. You know what I mean? So I think that overall it's actually extremely damaging, changing the gender roles so that, yeah, women are just more money makers for you, especially in a time when money is so hard to come by. But it's interesting because the price of goods are relevant to how much money everyone has. Okay, so let me try and explain this concept to you, because it's a very important concept to understand at this point. Okay, so let's say everyone earned $10 a day. Guess what? It would turn out most products adjust in price to accept your $10, because corporations, even though they do have like inelastic supply side costs, for example, like the cost of raw materials, There is a profit margin that they're trying to hit, and their profit margin is actually based on how much you earn. So if everyone in America just earned less money, what would happen is the cost of goods would actually go down. This is often why when we talk about raising the minimum wage, there are people who say, what are you talking about? Raising the minimum wage doesn't actually make you any wealthier. No new product has been made just because you've raised the minimum wage. The only time that you can raise the minimum wage is when the level of productivity has gone up. So if the level of productivity hasn't gone up, then you can't raise the minimum wage, and what it'll actually lead to is the firing of employees who are less productive, or replacing of employees with robots, right? Because robots are extremely productive, it turns out. So anyways, what I'm talking about is the price of goods and the elasticity of people's income. If you don't make enough money to buy a good, it turns out the corporation finds a way to sell it to you cheaper. Amazing. Just like, for example, have you guys heard about Apple releasing their cheaper iPhone? How convenient. They did that just as the economy is probably heading into a recession, and just as the government sends out a bunch of $1,200 checks. How smart of Apple. So this is exactly how corporations work. They respond to your income level. What is this all leading to? Basically, when you have you and your wife working, it appears that you are wealthier. It appears that you're wealthier because you and your wife together should make more money. What is actually going to happen is the cost of goods is going to rise dramatically. For example, let's imagine that there's one really good neighborhood that everyone wants to move into. So what happens is, in order to move into it, this guy and his wife figure out that they can both work, and this will allow them to earn more money than other couples. But the other couples kind of catch on to this and say, okay, we're all going to work, all the men and all the women. What do you think actually happens to the cost of the houses in that neighborhood? In order to reflect the demand of double income households, the house prices skyrocket to reflect how much money everyone actually has. So what really happened is the pricing of the home didn't get cheaper. In other words, you still can't afford it. You still can't afford it. It doesn't matter, because now everyone thinks that the role of women is to go make money. And now you're all childless, guys who stay at home playing video games. This is exactly what I am right now. I don't have any kids. And these are all sort of difficult realizations that I'm making over time. And lucky I'm making it at a time when my wife is still, she's only like 25. So we're still fairly young, and I've figured this out early enough that we can still have kids. But I realize how dangerous of a situation it is, because probably there's plenty of people who have not figured this out. And they're all like, yeah, I'm a feminist, man. I'm pro-feminist. I'm so pro-woman. It's like, you're a fucking idiot is what you are. You'll be replaced by everyone who's not a feminist. That's what will happen over time. And you won't be, ironically, you won't even be rich. Because as everyone starts to work, all women and all men, the cost of labor, what you get paid, will go down because of the double competition. There will be women competing for the same jobs, and the cost of goods goes up because all the corporations and all the assets you can buy, everyone knows you have a double income. So it's just kind of like, wow, good job, everyone. We've become childless corporate cogs. It's perfect. We make corporations wealthy, have no children, and pat ourselves on the back for progress. Stupid as hell, man. So dumb. And then, Hollywood keeps pumping out videos about male misogyny, 70 cents on the dollar, blah, 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 blah. And maybe in your mind you find it annoying. Maybe in your mind you kind of know it's not true. But the funny thing is, none of you guys would probably speak up against feminism because in the real world, you actually get punished for speaking up against feminism. So it's actually a fully dangerous situation to even speak about it, perhaps even the way I'm speaking about it. It's just a fully dangerous thing to criticize. You're not allowed to criticize it. You would just get in big trouble. Oh my god. Boy, I'm getting beat up right now. What? Oh my god, I just lost the match for our team. Alright, let's go ahead and scroll down. Again, thank you very much, Eric Flash, for the generous donation. If you're dating another man, you don't want to get him pregnant. That's exactly right, Tender. I mean, it sounds goofy as hell, but it's true. If you're dating another man, if you're dating essentially, if the role of your wife is that she's a money earner, she's a provider, why would you want to stop her bringing in the money? Because you think that you're getting rich, but you're not. You're not actually getting rich. Lich says inflation, deflation of the economy, precisely. What to Birdie says Samsung charged the price of a TV to be exactly $1,200, same amount as the stimulus package that the government just sent out. What do you think about the U.S. government sending so much money to Boeing? Well, the funny thing is, you get these like corporations that are too large to fail. If Boeing fails, so many jobs will fall apart in the United States. And for what? So that another Boeing can come along, basically. It'll just be Boeing 2.0. So it's sad too, though, because these companies realize then that they don't have to have a lot of cash saved up for the event of a catastrophe, because the government will come and bail them out. Nurg heard you criticizing feminism. That's right. White Knight Nurg came and wiped me out. So this is how feminism gets revenge. Talk shit, get hit. Feminism strikes back. What to Birdie says, I think the most important thing is the freedom of choice. If a woman wants to have a career and the husband wants to stay home and take care of the kids, then why not? Because over time, your wife, who earns all the money, will realize that you're a huge beta male, and she will move over to a real man. That's exactly what will happen. And then after that occurs to you, after she divorces you for a real man, you'll realize why there's a bunch of men who do the whole MG Tao, men going their own way stuff. So you will stay at home, a huge simp, and you will kiss your wife's feet and call her goddess. She will have the children, but she will also earn all the money, and then she will meet an actual alpha male, and then she's going to be like, well, why am I staying with my husband? He doesn't provide for me. This guy actually could provide for me, and I can already take care of the kids myself. I've already got that skill, you know? So that's exactly why. Men don't have children. The number one thing you can provide in a relationship is money. You don't push out children. Jetstream says, in our school, they had an entire day dedicated to feminist propaganda, though this backfires every year, as the school is mostly guys going into computer science. Jetstream, I promise you, it does not backfire. I think that it does massive damage. Massive psychological damage to the development of young men. Because if you were to stand up and say, I don't agree with any of this, you will get skewered, and you will learn that you will get skewered, so you just kind of shut up and go with it. And it's really too bad. Actually, you know, I think that, personally, I'm not such a huge fan of the educational system. You guys know that. You've heard my channel for a while. The longer I think on the education system, the more I feel that it's like the best way to control your population is the educational system. And I don't think they tell you the most useful information, to tell you the truth. The Chad husband versus the virgin feminist. Well, she wants a Chad. More men choosing to be in the room when wife gets impregnated. What if scientists reverse engineer to make it genetically possible for men to have children? Well, I guess that actually would change a lot, Fitz. But until then, if you're born a dude, you don't have a uterus, you can't give birth to children, so you better find a way to make yourself basically independent. I don't know if that's the right word. Useful to a woman. Maybe that's the right word. Kevin says, thanks for speaking out with the coronavirus. Last year, Hong Kong was trying to tell the world how dangerous CCP is. Wasn't expecting that from a gaming channel. Yeah, is very interesting. I've been reading about it constantly. It's a very interesting subject. It's a big deal, guys. A lot of people actually died from the virus. Okay, so it's not some small tragedy. Huge numbers of people died. But not just that, the economic fallout of the coronavirus is going to be so bad. So much money, whole economies are going to be shrinking from this for so long. And it all could have been avoided. It's so much like Chernobyl. It's so much like Chernobyl, where they had the whole nuclear meltdown, and maybe a lot of the damage could have been avoided if they had simply been honest to the people and been honest to the world about what was going on, and allowed the rest of the world to help early on. But they didn't, because they don't want to be seen that way, as incompetent. All women needs a Chad. I actually believe that, Jojo. So I think that women instinctively, women will always, you will think that there's like, oh man, she's an alpha woman, she only likes beta men, right? But I think that instinctively people date up, not down. Even if for a while a woman or a man will date down, I think that in the long run, people all consistently wish to date up. And when it comes to dating up for a woman, she's looking for an alpha male. That's what she's looking for. Women generally don't go around going, yeah, I'm looking for a beta male. Can't wait to date a beta male. He'll stay at home and watch the kids, and I'll go have the kids, but also I'll make all the money. You know what I mean? That could work for a while. Maybe it'll work for a relationship for a very long time, but the exception is usually not how you set the rule. You know what I mean? So if I have a son, I'm going to tell him, look, you can't have kids, so you better go out there and get a good job. Your wife can have kids, so you better give her a reason to want to stay with you. What you're saying is all men that are staying at home taking care of their kids are beta males? I kind of am saying that way. I'm not trying to say that in a an unhelpful way, but I'm trying to tell you, you better start thinking about ways to start your business and start being independent of your wife, because I honestly do believe over time women do resent men who basically rely on them for an income. It's just part of their biology, man. It's built in. It's like asking, why do men find young women attractive? Because over thousands of years or maybe millions of years of evolutionary biology, because of the differences in our sex, you know, women bearing the children and men not bearing the children, this sort of dichotomous difference between men and women developed. And trust me, it didn't go away in the year 2020 just because a feminist stood up and said, oh, there's no difference between men and women. It's still there. Oh man, look at this Oregon. He messed up the trap. How do I unlock augmentations? You have to stand up to feminism. Augmentations. I'm trying to remember, when do augmentations unlock? At the end of the story? TGC, can I ask how the glider mantle complements the greatsword? I've never messed with the glider mantle. The glider mantle complements all weapon classes where you want to have more skills in your build. So if you want to have 2 extra decorations for like 3 minutes, you put on the glider mantle. In your opinion, which monster would you like to see in Monster Hunter World? I'd like to see the Nancy Pelosi monster. A little off topic, but this is a build I made for 100 affinity for most weapons without tenderizer. What? Is he playing a character, or does he actually believe all that? Stanislaw, to answer your question, these are things I actually believe fully. I've had a lot of time to think about it. These are the kind of things I spend my time thinking about, and these are my conclusions that I've reached. Studies show women who earn more than their husbands or are the breadwinners are extremely unhappy in the marriage, and 70% of women who earn more than the men get divorced. Well, there you go. There you go. I don't know where you got that study or if it's credible, but somebody else could probably Google it and probably confirm it if they wanted to. Some religions are smart and don't let women wear the pants so they don't run the pants of the family. Sanford says killing 2 arch-tempered monsters. Falstrax after the story, I think it's after Shar when you get augments. I stood up to feminism, even got the accent, but I didn't unlock augmentations. What? Even got the accent? Well, I don't believe in feminism. I don't know what you mean by the accent. Feminism sounds like it's Al-Qaeda. Something like that, I don't know. Oh my god. George Bush was one of our presidents. If we would only act according to our biology, we should also, for example, purify our gene pool and do a lot of other things that are morally questionable. Well, and that's the funny thing. Humans, it's kind of like being able to make sort of like a very psychopath kind of decision, because humans have this ability to be very compassionate versus making like a hard decision. You know, let's say there's not enough money to go around. You could choose who to help. You could help the people in your own country, or you can give out less money and help the people equally around the world. And this is a very tricky question. It's like, which is the correct moral decision to make? Should you be loyal to your own people, or should you consider all people around the world to be essentially equal to each other and therefore divide the money evenly, even if it means more people will die from your own group? So it's one of those questions, isn't it? It's a tricky question. So a lot of you run into this kind of problem a lot of the time. Do you agree that women should have completely equal rights, equal court, equal wages, even though the wage gap doesn't exist? There's no proof. I believe women should have 3 children, and then they should think about having a career. The question of whether or not I think the government should force women to have 3 children, I don't think the government could force women to have 3 children. Is sort of a social decision that the men have to get into. You know, you see what I'm saying? Somebody has to be standing up and saying, look guys, if you don't have 3 children with your wife, guess what? Some guy from another group, another culture, another religion will come in and he'll do it for you, is what'll happen. You'll let him into your country because you don't care, and he will have all the children, and you will sit back and think that you're a progressive feminist, and it won't turn out well for you. In nature, There are no feminist males in nature, and things do not work out well for the animals that don't have children. Things work out very poorly. In fact, almost exclusively, the only thing that animals compete over is the ability to have children. But for humans, it's almost like we're competing not to have children. It's silly. Women like to be dominated. Countless girls have told me it is sexy. Countless. He's got a list, guys. I'm just teasing. Gotta go to work, have pride, produce stability for your family and our job. Think 2 is enough? Nope. It's not enough, Frank. It's not enough. I would say at least 3. The 3rd one is in case something goes wrong with one of the children. Maybe a car accident. Maybe they get wiped out by coronavirus. Maybe they're just unsuccessful. Maybe they turn into a feminist simp and they say, I don't need to have children. One of those things could happen, so you gotta have 3 children. I think 2's enough. And if you don't have 3, huge cuck. No, I'm just kidding. Do you really believe it? Oh wait, I missed a question. What do you say? You can build most things, but you cannot build a phone, right? What's the build price? Subscribers? What? George Bush was the decider. What if women have the American dream? They should suppress their ambitions? What do you think that the American dream is? Is the American dream that you turn 40 and have no children? That's not... So I think what you're talking about, when it comes to the American dream, we can actually debate what the American dream is. And I think the American dream is having a middle-class lifestyle that is a decent home, with a family that loves you, and a partner, probably the person you made the children with, who loves you. Okay? So the American dream, for the longest time, meant having the nuclear family and just having a successful family. At the end of your life, so I used this example before in a previous live stream. At the end of your life, and if you're a woman listening to this stream, consider this for a minute, and you're laying on your deathbed, you're like, whatever, you're 60 years old and you got the coronavirus. You're laying on your deathbed, and what are you thinking about in your head while you're laying there dying? Are you thinking, man, I wish I had moved up the corporate ladder for AT&T more. Man, I wish I had just made one more software change for Google. Man, I wish I had sold just a little more bread at Walmart for Bunny Bread. Is that really what you're thinking about? Or are you going, man, I hope my children remember me, and I don't want to die alone. I want my children to be with me when I die, and I want to see all my grandchildren before I go. What are you really thinking about? And the truth is, obviously, is 100% going to be all of the family options, right? Nobody sits there going, ha ha ha, I was such a great worker. Nobody's doing that on their deathbed. You're all thinking about the people you love and the people who love you. That's it. But we don't think in terms of that far ahead. Nobody does. Well, I think I do, actually. That was distinct about me. Even as a little kid, I like to think far ahead. But in general, people do not think that far enough ahead, and they think the American dream is going to work for AT&T and earning an extra $60,000, even though all you're doing is raising the price of goods anyways, because the corporations know the women are working. So, like I was saying earlier, things go up in price to adjust for people's incomes. But anyways, yeah, you're not sitting there going, man, I wish I had made just one more software change for Google. You're not. You're wondering where your children are at. Tobias says, hand me all your belongings. Female lions hunt. Well, yeah, exactly. And after you've had some kids, so speaking strictly biologically, is always easiest for women to have children young. After they've had 3 kids, maybe they should go back to college at that point, pick up a job skill and get a meaningful job. But are you telling me that women are taking their youngest, most, let's say, fertile? It almost sounds like a sexist word. It's not a sexist word. They're taking their best years, their youngest years, and they're wasting them in college learning. I think that Shakespeare is a waste of time. I've gone and I've learned Shakespeare. I spent $4,000. I went $4,000 into debt for freaking Shakespeare. It's one of the dumbest things I've ever spent money on in my entire life. If I wanted to hear some commentary about Shakespeare, I could have turned on a YouTube program. If I wanted to read Shakespeare, I could go to the library and read Shakespeare for free. No $4,000 involved. So women are taking their youngest, most beautiful years and throwing it at college so that they can go $60,000 in debt and spend the next 4 years digging themselves out of that $60,000 debt. Do you see what's going on here? So you enter college at 18 years old, you come out at 22, and you finish your student debt at 26. This is exactly what's happening to my wife right now, by the way. And then once you're out of debt, you're like, okay, I'm finally out of debt. Now I'm supposed to get a return on my investment from my degree. How do you get the return on investment? You need to keep working. You need to stay employed and keep working. That's the only way to get the return on investment from your degree. So they have to work more than 4 years after the debt is paid. You probably need to work another 20 years in order to really get the most out of that degree. So you're doing all that stupid stuff. You're old now. You don't want to have kids. You're starting to look ugly. That's what happens to women, by the way. About the time they turn 35, their looks really start to fade. So you're already starting to lose a little bit of your looks as a woman. Now that you're 30, you want to start having kids? No, because it's hard to bounce back from having a kid at 30. You start to look kind of chub and not so attractive after a kid at 30. So you missed the easy years to have children or all the young years. Have you ever seen a young mother? After she has the child, she doesn't even look like she's had a child. But by the time you're 30, if you have a child, you do not look so good after having that child. That's just a fact. And that's not true for everyone. It's a little different for... My mom had 11 kids. I watched the whole process. She had 11 children. I watched everything. When you have children later in life, it really starts to become a hardship. It's much harder. Your body is older. It doesn't recover as fast. And having a child is a big deal for your body. So you've wasted 4 of your youngest years in college, your best years, so that you can spend the next 4 years after that getting yourself out of the debt from college, so that you can spend the next 4 years after that making a little bit of money on that stupid degree that you got, if you even got a decent degree. Isn't that funny to learn that most of the debt is held by women? 2/3 of the college debt is held by women going after psychology degrees and history degrees. Wow, what a catastrophe for women. And they're all told this by the feminists, that this is some great thing for them. Really? That doesn't sound so great to me. You get to have kids in your 30s if you haven't been broken up with by then, because men are like, well, I don't even have kids with you. I can leave you if I want, right? And you're not even so good looking anymore. We don't have any special memories. We don't have a family together. You don't want to marry me. You make all your money, and you don't, all this stuff, right? So you got all these issues going on. Oh man, why didn't he make like $1 million? Anyways, you got all these issues going on, and you have a child, and it just wears your body out because you're older now. You're not even wealthy. The economy shifted to adjust for your extra income. The price of houses went up because everyone's earning extra money. All couples have 2 working spouses. So the price of housing just shoots up because the amount of available money goes up, which means the demand went up. Wow, it's really looking good for women. Real progress, guys. Clap yourself on the back. So much progress. It's not progress at all. It's the opposite of progress. It's terrible. And again, think again about your on your deathbed, you're dying. You're going, man, I wish I had just done one more job for AT&T. Man, I wish I had sold one more thing for Walmart, for Amazon. Oh man, I wish I had fixed one more program for Google. Yeah, friggin' right, man. Nobody thinks about this. Why doesn't anyone think this? It's very easy to think about this. And you guys are hearing me talk about it, so it's easier to think about it. The number one thing you think about is, where are the people that love me? Where are my grandchildren? That's what you think about when you're on your deathbed. You didn't have any grandchildren. You spent 12 years in school and getting out of your debt and then making a little bit of money that didn't matter to the economy because everyone's making a little bit more money. It's so stupid. So let's see. The doctor was ready for a snap. It takes fierce ridging legs. My girlfriend is going for a history degree. Go feminism all you want. A chat appears and all that concept will fail. Your GF is stupid. Help me, Safi. GE, you're speaking on personal perspective. No logic. Well, there's plenty of logic. I don't know what you're talking about, Chad. Scream at cheese. He fell asleep. A man is thinking about AT&T, Google. What? He's allowed his opinion? Well, when men are on their deathbed, you are a provider for your children. It's the same thing. So you're supposed to have had children with your wife, and you go, here are all the children I provided for. But you're not going to have that either. So your wife's on her deathbed. She didn't have kids. You're on your deathbed. You didn't have kids. Neither of you did, right? Because it takes a man and a woman. So it's a problem for both the sexes. Excuse me. TGC, do you think slicing ammo or maybe cluster bombs will be buffed? Probably not. I hate annoying feminism as much as the next reasonable person, but you're on the far end of the opposite spectrum. Well, and you know, that's probably the position I would have taken a little while ago, but I feel like I've thought about the issue long enough. I believe that having children is sort of an absolute necessity. Think of it like this, you know, there's certain things you need in life, like a home, maybe healthcare, and so these become hot topics when it comes to politics and stuff like that. I've realized, you know, your genetic survival is probably the only meaningful thing you can do in life over time. And not only just the most meaningful thing is in terms of surviving, but also in terms of having something meaningful in life. So I thought about it a bit longer and I realized money is not the most meaningful thing for you. Your relationships are the number one most meaningful thing in your life. Your relationships are the most meaningful thing in life. So when you get closer to death, you will be not be thinking about, oh man, I can't believe how much money I made. You will be thinking about the things you did that were sort of the sort of things that transcend objects. And the things that transcend objects are sort of like the sacrifices you made in the family that you have. Those are the things that transcend your toys, you know, your money. And so we're all so focused on having both men and women play the role of the husband so that we can have more money, because this is apparently a success, but to me it's actually the opposite of success. I've realized at the age of 31 that this is the opposite of success, probably the same thing that all these religions realized. Thousands of years ago they realized this, and they've continued to realize it all this time. They've known it the whole time. The Jews, the Islam, Christianity, they all knew it. They all knew it the whole time. So it's not even a new idea, by the way. What I'm talking about isn't new. This is the same practices that all these religions have had the whole time. I'm just realizing that they're right. How old are you? How old are you, and do you plan on having 3 kids? I do plan on having children. I don't know how many children yet, but hopefully 3. And I'm 31. I'm 31 and my wife is 25. He's 100% correct. As a professional woman, I can attest the most professional women cannot start having children until 30. Well, it's just that you could start having children while you're still in student debt, but it's just very hard because probably your husband works, or he's going to become a stay-at-home dad, which I don't recommend for him. He's either going to work with you, and neither of you will be able to take care of the children, or you'll have to hire an expensive daycare anyways, which means you either have a really good paying job to pay for the daycare, or you're basically breaking even because you're paying for the daycare, or your husband, again, is a stay-at-home dad, which, once again, I don't recommend that for men. So it's one of those options. So you can have children while you're still in student debt, but it's almost like it makes you wonder, why did I go into the student debt? It didn't make any sense. And the funny thing is, after you're done with having your children and they've gotten a little older, you can then go to college. You know, I went to college later in life. I did not go to college when I was 18 like most people did. Since I was homeless, I left my family. Since I was homeless that whole time, what I had to do in order to go to a 4-year degree, a 4-year university, I had to save up about $25,000 to go to college, and I used that to pay for my cost of living while I took on full-time education. So that was what I did. I saved up a bunch of money and then I went. And this is what allowed me to go. So I had to save up money, and I ended up going when I was 25. I went to college. So that's when I went. So women could, they could even have their children younger and then just go to college later and still have a very nice job. It's not impossible. And I think it makes more sense to do it in that order rather than to wait till you're real old. I think it's healthier for you and the baby. And my point of view isn't that women can't go get jobs. I don't think that women would be happy not having some kind of professional job. I think that one of the reasons why people go after professional jobs is because actually it's also kind of fun to have a professional job, you know what I mean? So people like to work. And I do actually appreciate really productive women quite a bit. It's just that this is a survivability issue. This is a have you had your children yet issue. And if you haven't, then you're missing out on a serious amount of your real wealth. Your children are your wealth, not your money. I don't think people believe that anymore. I'm just trying to do border patrol. The state trooper down here, 6 figures of stupid money. I'll have made it in the shade. That's one thing that I don't get about America. If you want a higher education, you need to either be in money or you'll end up in debt. Right, but then also, so people are constantly thinking, why don't we just pay for all education? And that's because when you pay for everyone's education, you end up paying for all of the most useless degrees. And this is not necessarily good for your economy either. So Daddy Daycare is a bad movie. Student debt is a nightmare. Yes, it is. College isn't the only way to me. There are certifications. I completely agree. In Sweden, we get paid to study, says Shady. In Sweden, the government taxes you so much money that it's capable of giving money to college students. That's how that should be rephrased. In Sweden, the government takes so much of your income that it then can give some money away to college students. Hi, I'm a fan of your Monster Hunter World videos. Keep up. Keep it up. Thanks, Randy. Let's go ahead and put on the flying mantle. Oh, and that's going to hurt. Gameconomist, please look at this build over and tell me what. I'll take advantage of that since I'm trying to accomplish this anyways. Oh, perfect. The timing on this is really good. Is this gonna work? Oh, it might work. Sweet. Nice job. Oh my god. Tobias and I didn't get to take advantage of it though. Woo! Let's get in there and interrupt Jimmy Neutron. I'm just kidding. And there we go. Get him, boys! Are you still together with your wife? No, she left me, but then she came back. From work. Fortifying the next generation with less stress study, better retention, GPA is guaranteed higher. What? Aaron says, I get that. I'm working as a security guard right now, and the pay is shit, especially because they're cutting out hours to put the hospital nurses at our post, so I'm gonna try and get certified to be an EMT. Does having more channel members improve your channel's algorithm score? You know what? I'm sure that YouTube keeps the information like that secret. I'm sure I'm not allowed to know exactly what causes it. Oh, snap. And he's down. Did we break the head? Come on. Boop. Oh, that still hit you? What? How does that hit you? The claws don't even touch you. Don't do it. Sweden's pay for education, GE. Oh, okay. I don't know everything about Sweden, so if I say something stupid, I apologize. Oh, and he's dead. Did we break the head at least? I couldn't tell if we broke the head. It doesn't look like we did. Oh, that's too bad. The reason we didn't break the head is because somebody was focusing on a different body part other than the head. Stanislaus says, the thing he doesn't understand is that women have as much variety as men. Some want and need children. Others are much better suited for a career or go into STEM fields and advance human knowledge. Stanislaw, I believe that is just something you've been brainwashed to believe. Any human that cannot accept that they need to have children, whether they want children or not, is bound to disappear from the gene pool. So maybe you just believe in a sort of, natural selection where people who enjoy having money rather than children sort of disappear naturally. Maybe that's your belief, but I think actually your belief is rooted more in this concept that women should be more interested in careers than in having a family, which I think is horribly wrong and something we've only seen recently with the rise of feminism. It's not true for anywhere else in history. Women almost inevitably always had children. This idea that, oh, women shouldn't be worried about children, they should be worried about their career, that's a new idea and it's a terrible one. I consider it almost essentially evil. It's that bad. It basically robs you of having a family. It robs you of having a family. GE sigh. TGE, do you support gay marriage? Why do people keep asking me that? I believe that people should be allowed to get married. I think if you have two consenting adults, they can get married. However, I do think that government tax benefits should be reserved for people who are having children. Mort says, man, looking at Shara lets me always remember the lyrics of Gas Money. What? Smart women should have smart babies, question mark. Yeah, actually, I do believe in that, Jay Smith. I believe that intelligence is inherited from the parents. Velkana. Oh, can't help him. The moon is a harsh queen. What do we got here? My mom was a dumb blonde and I'm an intellectual god? Women should be worried about what they want out of life. No, Stanislaus, so my point of view is that both women and men should be aiming to have a family. If that is not your aim, that is because you have been brainwashed into believing that the most important aspect of your life is your career. And I'm saying, like all the religions have realized, the most important aspect of your life are your family. That is the children that you had. That is the most important thing, not your career. Gameconomist, please read, build Furious Raging Legs chest. Sorry, Draw Kill. I'm not going to analyze that right now. I'm not going to try and analyze a build from a text. Maybe you can send a picture of the build in one of the weapon channels in the Discord. I fully agree, but I can't say it because then feminists would attack me. LMAO. No, man. I had some other guys saying that, they need to, like, close my channel down. Gee, how's it holding? And what are we talking about? Bruta? How's it going, Raymond Ramirez? We were talking about a subject we talked about recently about having children. If I got my intelligence from my parents, boy, am I done. Dumb, Isaiah, says Isaiah. What? Are you saying your parents are dumb? Who do you think gave you your intelligence? A fairy in the sky? Came down, bopped you on the head with the little fairy wand? Lich says, PM stood down after messing up Brexit. Crazy person called Boris Johnson became the new prime minister. Managed to get Brexit through. Crazy person named Boris Johnson. He's got that hair, though, doesn't he? GE, have you seen Interstellar? Did you like it? I did actually really enjoy the music to Interstellar. The movie, though, I found really stupid. Some of the ideas behind it were so inconsistent and bad. I remember just like criticizing it for like a full 2 hours. After my wife and I watched it together, I'm like, this movie makes no sense. The power in the universe is love. And that's how we enter the fourth dimension ahead of time and help each other in the past. Like, okay, but how did you get there to help yourself in the past? It's one of those, time travel conundrums. What do they call those? Paradoxes? It doesn't make any sense. Good music, though. I'll say that. The music was really fantastic. What do you think of veganism? If you want to eat vegetables, then maybe that's okay, but you should probably unplug their life support first. And get permission from their loved ones. Interstellar's my favorite movie. What? WTF, GN? No GTFO. Turf War. Best movie, bro. Amazing movie. I thought it was okay, but I did not actually like it that much. I really thought that some of the concepts in the movie were just... I think that the movie tries to sell itself as being like not technologically, sort of maybe like scientifically representative of what's really going on in the universe, but then it just introduces these really wacky, zany Hollywood sort of ideas, like the factor that we didn't understand is love. I found that very annoying because I consider something like love to just be a human emotion and something that we tend to, what would be the word, romanticize. As humans, we romanticize it. It doesn't mean that it's involved any way at all in the laws of physics. So it just made no sense. And again, the paradox with the time travel really annoyed me. Time travel paradox. That's right. Boris Johnson got them Chad antibodies. He should by now. What if you found out Boris Johnson was like, you know what? In order to fight the virus, I must truly fight the virus. And then he took like a syringe and injected the coronavirus straight into his arm. And he's like, I'll see you mother frickers in 2 weeks. Nah, he didn't do that, of course. Gameconomist, you need LSD. Probably I don't. Before having kids, families should be stable enough to take care of them. There's already enough kids getting taken from CPS. This I agree with. You should not have children if you cannot afford children. This is why you probably should not be going to college, because college will put you into student debt for the best years of your baby making life. Okay? So I don't recommend college for everyone. College is for some people. But college for everyone is a joke. It's not for everyone. I don't think it ever was intended to be for everyone. If everyone had a college degree, no one's college degree would be impressive. The businesses that hire people based on their intelligence would all look at it and be like, oh, well, everyone's got one. So they would have to design some new way to filter out who's actually intelligent in society. And of course, businesses are never looking to just hire every average person. The competition for businesses when it comes to hiring labor, they hire the best workers, and they do this against their competitor. So if everyone had a degree, your degree essentially would be worthless. So you're all going $60,000 into debt for a worthless degree, and this huge amount of debt makes it much harder for you to have children. So I totally agree. You should wait to have children until you can provide them a home and food, but you should not be taking on an enormous amount of student debt for a pointless, stupid degree that really you went because you wanted to have a party lifestyle in college and go on spring break, and you took out a huge-ass student loan for it, and now you expect everyone else to pay for it, perhaps, or you just realize what a mistake it was later in life, unfortunately. TGE, would you consider your priorities surrounding family as biased given your unique position of coming from a relatively large family? Oh no, it has nothing to do with my family. I actually did not get along with my siblings at all. I don't recommend having more children than you can handle. I think that this ultimately puts a lot of strain on the relationship between the children and the parents. In fact, when you come from a family that is so large like mine, what happens is it's impossible to have any kind of relationship with your parents because you're competing with 11 children to have any time alone with that parent, and you just do not have time alone with that parent. So am I advocating for a large family? Maybe it works for some people. It's not for everyone. I didn't say you should have 11 kids. I said you should have about 3 kids. And I realize some people will have 2, some people will have 4, but I think an average of 3 would be really healthy. And I'm saying that the most meaningful thing in life is not that you make a bunch of money. The most meaningful thing in life is that you have a family. And currently what feminism does is it totally disrupts this family unit, and it happens to be the most important thing for your society. And when you disrupt it, society is going to unravel, and you're eventually going to be replaced by pretty much what's immigrant slave labor that gets imported from poorer countries. It's exactly what you see across all developed countries right now. You go to France, they're having like 1 kid. You go to UK, it's like 1.5 kids. You know, America is like, it's something like that. It depends on what group of people you're talking about. It was intended to be for everyone. Lowe's Bank Hustle. Good night, TGC. Good night, Hi Banana. Man, I deeply disagree with many of your opinions on these topics. Could go on for hours about it. Sadly, this is the wrong medium to discuss it. You do make great videos, though. Oh, thank you very much, Stanislaw. Why he can have intelligent conversation while playing? The Stanislaw says, keep it up, and I wish you all the best. You too, Stanislaw. That's why you gotta CCS your siblings to remove your... That's right. Remove the competition. Crunchy Nut says, do you think that console will have a leg of players now? What? Oh, you're wondering if everyone's going to swap to PC. I don't think everyone's going to swap to PC, no. Oh, I thought the fight was over. We got to go fight this guy. There we go. My school is $60K a year, but I go there for free. I learn how to be in charge of 40 people, being in the army, and also get a school degree. Best decision ever. Sweet. Let's run down here. I find it, you know, it's funny because I've been talking about this issue with you guys for a while, and I think in the past, the concept of prioritizing your life around having a successful family first, rather than having, you know, your wife become basically a husband, a provider. You know, in the past, this would be very easy for everyone to understand, but we're in the future. We're all so well brainwashed into this concept of feminism that this is considered like maybe even radical to be suggesting. It's not radical. Your entire ancestors lived this way. Everyone's ancestors did exactly the same thing. They had children. They had you. They had you. You exist because of this. It's so radical to suggest that, you know, women should aspire to be mothers rather than another worker for the corporations, which is essentially what they become in most cases. Maybe if we had cross-save, PC would be more relevant. Imagine doing a multi-monster fight that is T2. Looks like the Chad is a virgin. My friend swapped to PC 0. Let's stab this guy. Do we have our temporal? What's your opinion on Australian university where you obtain debt but don't pay until you earn a certain amount a year, or around 40k for us? It's definitely an interesting concept. So you're saying what happens is you can acquire a bunch of student debt, but you don't have to start paying it off till later. Is it interest deferred? Like, do you pay interest on it if you wait? That would be very interesting. There's basically a different type of government subsidy in that case. You know, I'm not against students pulling out a loan for education. I think what should happen with education is that it needs to catch up to technology, and the reason it's not catching up to technology is because a conflict of interest exists where the school doesn't want to tell you, look, there's a cheaper way to become educated. The school wants as much of your money, your government student loan as possible. So the schools tell you, oh yeah, you got to take this, you got to take social studies, you definitely got to know Shakespeare, you got to take creative. I took a class on creative writing. Why did I need that? I did not need creative writing to be a computer scientist. Make no sense. Easiest class too. I paid $4,000 to write poetry, basically. All right, so I don't need to pay $4,000 to write poetry. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. So anyways, they create these rules that say, but you have to take creative writing in order to, because it's an elective, right? So you had a number of electives. You have to take creative writing if you want to have your degree. And so you get this piece of paper, and basically the piece of paper is this huge thing that they charged you for. It puts you into a very bad debt at a young age, but they're rich at least. They're rich at least. The school, so it's a conflict of interest is what it is. If you're keeping up with technology, most classes would just be free online classes at YouTube, and the schools would simply administer a test. That's what would happen. The schools would basically be test administrators. They'd be like, look, if you want to pay to have a professor talk to you, that is optional, or you could just sign up to take the test. The test will be $200. And then if you pass the test, that means you have a knowledge of the subject. That should be how schools, colleges operate in the future, because it would be so much more cost efficient for the student. But it's not cost efficient for the rich guys who own the school, is it? Real important for the rich guys who own the school to make sure that you stay there and take classes that aren't important. You probably want a decent PC, but if you're on a budget, wait for consoles. Rumors they're having really good improvement for the next gen. Cheers, I have a decent mid-range PC. SSDs really aren't that expensive. I mean, that is a problem that not every country shares. It's certainly a problem in the US. I agree with you on that so much. I basically only need around 12 classes for my major, but the school wants me to take 25 other classes that are basically useless. And you know what? You will appreciate more and more as you pay interest and as you pay back your student loan just what you gave up to take those 25 classes. When you sit down and think real hard about paying $4,000 so that a baldy guy with glasses can tell you to write poetry, you paid $4,000 for that. It makes you feel like you were stolen from. And that's how bad it is. Like, I would never buy that. That's just insanity. You know, I struggle to go to the grocery, I struggle to go buy a big screen TV, and I get so many hours of enjoyment out of that. A large screen television costs like $300, $400 now, right? And when I make a purchase on something like that, that's a large purchase. You know, you don't make a decision on buying a new flat screen very quickly. You make that decision slowly. You look out for sales. $4,000. So a baldy guy with glasses can tell you, go ahead and write some poetry, and then I'll kind of give you a grade, and then you'll get an A for creative writing. So stupid, man. I can't believe anyone's paying $4,000 for that. It's robbery, man. It's highway robbery. But they get away with it because they tell you, oh, the computer science class that actually does earn you money, if you want to take that class, you also have to take creative writing as an elective. It was just happened to be the class that lined up with my schedule, right? So I was like, all right, well, creative writing it is, because this is the time slot I got to fill, right, for my curriculum this year. So stupid, man. Shockingly stupid. And it's not stupid at all, actually. It's a hustle, man. It is literally the schools going, oh, you've got a bunch of government money. Yeah, give that to me. That's all it is. And then you pay it back later. That's why colleges are expensive, because they force us to take social classes and such. That's absolutely correct. And it has to change. It should have already changed. Technology allows us to become educated so quickly. You guys are probably learning plenty just talking with me. We have really fun conversations. I didn't charge you any money for this. This was 100% free. At best, an ad maybe popped up. Maybe. For some of you, it did not, I'm sure. Right? So you didn't pay anything. And we could talk about all kinds of interesting stuff. I could read you articles. I could read you straight out of a college book if you wanted. Do it for free right now. You gotta pay fucking $4,000 to have some fatty guy in a vest, some tenured professor who lives, by the way, in some of the nicest places you can live in your area. You pay him $4,000 to have you read Shakespeare. So stupid, dude. So stupid. Shockingly stupid. We have the internet now. So bad. They want student in debt because our country is $13 trillion in debt. Well, yeah, because basically then you have a bunch of young people who are vehicles for profit for you. They pay the debt, you know, they pay the interest fee. I laugh at everyone else at school paying $60K a year to go to school to learn those useless classes. Baldy guy with glasses, that's right. How much longer will the stream go on? We are technically at 3 hours. We could probably wrap up right here if you guys wanted to. As a communication student, I was forced to take modules like nutrition. Well, exactly, like, okay. So nutrition is valuable. My wife took a class on nutrition as well. She's a computer scientist, dude. She's a software engineer. She needs to know 0 things about nutrition to be a software engineer. Unless she was working for a nutrition company, you do not need to know 1 thing about nutrition to be a software engineer. So she took software engineer. I mean, she took the nutrition course. All the classes for us, $4,000 per class. Plus, you're not earning any money during that time. So you're going to classes, you're not going to jobs, so you're not really earning any money. So you're just going $4,000 into debt per class while not earning any money for like 4 years. So bad, man. Oh man, why are we so broke? Because the system's designed to rob you, man. It milks you. It drains you. It is set up very poorly. It is not caught up to technology, and everyone goes to college now, so the demand for college skyrocketed. All the government's just handing out as much money as you want. It's so bad. And the solution to it is socialism, is what the Democrats say. The Democrats acknowledge that we have a student loan crisis. Well, if people aren't making enough money on the education, it's a bad education. So the root of the problem would be to fix the education. The Democrats just want to hand money out to everyone. They just want to print money. Print money, borrow money. They don't want to actually look at the root of the problem, that there's too many people going to college for useless degrees, and that the schools are heavily outdated. Technology, they have not caught up to technology. On purpose, they don't want to. They want you to pay for stupid classes like creative writing. So that would be the heart of the problem. However, schools tend to be the most liberal institutions on the face of the planet. So why the heck would the socialist liberals stand up and say, we need to probably fix this. This is not a good investment. They would never say that. They would protect it like crazy. They will never say that. They'll just be like, hey, let's just give money to the schools. You know, if you want to talk about paying off the loan forgiveness, this is how loan forgiveness should work. And I've said this before on this channel. Make the schools pay you back on those student loans. If it was a bad investment, they should be held responsible. They should be the ones that do not make the money because they loaned the money. The school, they didn't loan the money. I'm sorry. They were the ones who educated you. It was the government that loaned it. All right, so if the school took the money but gave you a shit education, they should refund the education. Instead, Nancy Pelosi and the liberals say every single conservative who chose to go to a trade school, who chose to simply go straight into work, straight into starting a business, every single conservative who didn't go to a fancy schmancy college education, every single conservative who chose an actually good degree, they all get to pay for your shit degree because we like to protect our huge socialist, liberal college campuses. I was there. I spent 4 years on a regular 4-year university. I spent about 3 years on a part-time college, community college. It's so liberal. It's crazy liberal in those places. I could not even imagine myself surviving as a conservative. You would basically have to shut up and hide the fact that you're a conservative on college campus, because you would basically be a rapist if you said something like, I think women should have children. That's basically along the lines of being a fascist when you're on college campus. Is that bad? Oh, you're a fascist, man. Can't believe you would say that about women. So that's basically how you would be treated for having actually very reasonable ideas like you should have a family. Anyways, this live stream has gone on long enough. I've ranted long enough. I apologize. I rant and I rant and I rant. These are things I think about all the time. I think about whatever you guys want me to think about. We could talk about more fun stuff in the future. Joshua says, I'm an econ student and they make me to philosophy and anthropology. Exactly. I took a class called Philosophy of Mind. Great conversation starter. Philosophy of Mind is full of a lot of fun ideas. Totally pointless to software engineering. You don't need it at all. Has no relevance. He says, these are classes you learn while living life, but I have to pay for those classes. That's precisely it. They trap you. They tell you, you must take those classes. You must pay thousands and thousands of dollars for those classes. You could have always just opened a book and read about it for free at your local libraries. Is robbery. Proud Cheater says, is Frostcraft Crit Draw the best for Greatsword? No. Crit Draw is terrible. Aaron says, I got called a white supremacist when I was there. I'm Bean and Native American. Jojo says, I took a subject about table manners and ethics in my engineering degree. Let's see. Ginghams shake my head. The fascists are the ones telling you can't say what you want. Is that just between white people? Have you invested in Bitcoin? I have not invested in Bitcoin. I own a fair amount of oil stocks now in Chevron, and I have a bunch of Pokemon cards. So I have a bunch of Pokemon cards, and I've been working on my student debt. My student debt is now $25,000, down from $55,000, right? And my wife has her student debt too. Hers is like $20,000, down from $55,000 as well. So that is my life. I live a life of debt. We're trying to sell her parents' home for them right now to help them with their own financial issues. We might be close to selling the home as well at this point. Anyways, I'll leave you guys here. Let's go ahead and get the wave. Someday I will be a rich guy, and then everyone can complain about it and try to take my money. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.